Well, hey, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It's really good to see you on the stream today. And man, we're ready to have a great time. We're going to be diving into our continued coverage of what's going on in the Idaho 4 case. Donna says, does anybody know what's going on with Zav Girl? I was wondering the same thing. I texted her today, actually, and she was on a trip. And then when she got home from the trip, she was sick. So there's an answer to that. But I was very concerned about it. I'm like, where have you been at? I'm really worried about you. Anyways, it's good to see you guys. Hope you're ready for a great stream. We're continuing our coverage today in the Idaho 4 case. I'm so grateful for someone who watches this channel named Duck for Life, went to the scene and found this white Hyundai Elantra, which I can't believe the way things go down in Eugene, Oregon. Apparently, everyone just leaves their car on the side of the road, and the car's like cluttered with all kinds of abandoned vehicles, and nobody does anything about. So it's almost like if you want to get rid of your vehicle, just go to Eugene, Oregon, drop it off on the side of the road, I guess. I don't know, but it's still sitting there on the side of the road. I'm sure there's dozens of people who've came to take pictures of it and things like that. And Duck for Life went and got some photos and videos for us, which revealed to us very clearly what the VIN number was, although that kind of had been out there, I guess, from some other folks, but we have our own exclusive footage of what was going on there. And I've been a little bit frustrated with the coverage today regarding that particular vehicle because, on one hand, there's some people that are saying, oh, this vehicle had nothing to do with it, including some pretty big name people that we love to follow and talk about what their thoughts are on this case. And so initially I was like, man, I really need to digest and understand this. And then next thing you know, it's like, nope, we don't need to digest and understand this because some local reporter said it's not involved at all. And then like the next thing that came out, it says they're working to investigate it. So within the span of about 5 hours, we went, and including actually all day yesterday, people were wondering what the heck was going on with the Elantra. I put it on the screen during our stream last night so we could have a conversation around it. We're trying to figure out if this Hyundai Elantra in Eugene, Oregon had anything to do with the Hyundai Elantra they're looking at. No, the thing that I don't understand about it too, you guys will tell me if you feel this way too, but why on earth is there a white Hyundai Elantra that is the same year span that they're looking for that's wrecked and abandoned without a license plate on the side of the road and they haven't impounded it? Even, even if they don't think it's related, there had to be a time period in the initial time where they believed it was related. It blows my mind. I mean, it's not that far. It's one state over, and it's like, in Eugene, Oregon. So it's, I don't know how many hours, 7, 8 hours away. But I would just think, why are they leaving a vehicle that they've been asking every single one of us to go look at on the side of the road for every single person to come and tamper with? Somebody broke one of the windows in the vehicle on the side of it, almost like they were trying to get in it, is what it looked like to me. There's evidence sitting on top of the vehicle. There was a homeless man sleeping inside of the vehicle. I don't know if the original theory that I had about this vehicle turns out to be true or not. But one thing I said from the beginning was, are they trying to distract us by telling us we all need to go look for a white Hyundai Elantra? And then at the end of the day, they didn't really need it, but it was just so all the internet sleuths would spend their energy doing something else. And then this white Hyundai Elantra pops up because it felt like they weren't doing anything about it. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to law enforcement or whoever's working on this, but from my perspective, I was very confused about what took place. Then people started looking into it, and I don't know the official reports. And so I'm going to withhold on some of it, but I have read the Carfax report, and it was sort of like pinned back to somebody in Colorado. And so the law enforcement was like, oh, it's not involved because somebody from Colorado owns it. Well, tell me, if you wanted to drive from Colorado, which is basically in the Midwestern part of the United States, almost in the center of the country, it's like bordering on going towards the western part of the United States, and you wanted to get to Eugene, Oregon, or you wanted to go to Idaho, is it possible to go through Idaho on your route to Eugene, Oregon? Absolutely. You're going to pass right through. And then somebody else did some research that the owner of the vehicle owned a business called 112 King. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if the owner of that white Hyundai Elantra happened to own a business with the name 1122 King, and the house address in Idaho where this took place was 1122 King Road, That's not a coincidence. What would be the chances of that? So there's just a lot of little things like that that are totally not adding up for me as we've been deep diving into this case. We're going to continue our coverage in it, but the press release from the Moscow Police Department says that they're aware of a Hyundai Elantra, and then they said now they're working with local jurisdiction to determine if the vehicle is related to the case. Initially, they were saying it had nothing to do with it, and then later it turned out that it was having something to do with it. So, I don't think so. I think it's not really 1122 queen. I think it appears as if it's 1122 king, but it's really 1122 king because I thought a lot about that heavenly clouds. It's confusing. It actually is a really confusing thing. But I do want to take a second and say, hey, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Really excited that you're here tonight. I believe we're going to have a really great stream. And we're totally crowdfunding, which means we can't survive unless people like you want to come alongside and support us. And some of the best ways to do that are through PayPal or Cash App, which is actually the best way because there's no fees attached to it at all, which is $ Tyler Feller 22, or Venmo, which is at Tyler-Feller. You can also send a super sticker or a super chat. Great ways to get us rolling and going as a way to show your support. And if you're watching today and you can't support in those ways, the free way and an easy way to support is just by hitting the like button on the video. One thing that will do is help shoot us into the YouTube algorithm, which is a very great place that we need to be in tonight. And we're pushing against misinformation. We're pushing against sensationalism in this case. We're trying to bring some empathy to the folks that are still alive, that are having to process through what's going on. And I think what we do is very important here. And so thank you guys for being here. I also want to shout out all the members of the Feller fam. Those are the folks with the little flag next to your name. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being amazing. And you guys really are the engine behind this YouTube channel. So thank you, thank you, thank you. The thing I wanted to show you guys first as we're getting started is this December 20th homicide update. This is coming from the Moscow Police Department. They're providing the following information sort of as an update on the known facts that are surrounding what's going on. Some of the things they said that there have been numerous questions about leadership in this investigation. They want to say the Moscow Police Department is in charge of the investigation, and the chief of police is that chief of police. I do have some information. His name is James Fry. I do have some information that I want to go through today on the individual that's covering this case, the one that's actually literally leading the investigation. I think we should talk about him a little bit. He has a very public role. His name is Officer Brett Payne. He was on scene on that September 1st call that we sort of dove into the other night, and he is the lead investigator. He only has 2 years of police experience, although he did also serve in the United States Army. And so the families are growing desperate to try to get down to the bottom of something, and I think they should. Hey, there's Amy Heights, our super sticker train conductor, saying, hey, folks, let's get started rolling and going today. Thank you so much, Amy Heights. I really appreciate that. It'd be amazing if we can get 20 people hopping aboard that super sticker train. It'd be a great way to help us out. Thank you so much, Amy Heights, for being number one. Caprice is saying, I think they are closer to solving this than we think. You might be right. You might be right. I hope they are. And that's a prayer that we've continued to have on this channel. And they certainly seem to speak with a level of confidence, but oftentimes we've seen law enforcement has a duty to sort of relay confidence to the public so people don't freak out. And so it's hard sometimes to process through, is their confidence an illusion, or are they really nearing the end of finding a resolution towards this? So I'm glad that you have faith and believe they're getting closer to it. I'm with you as far as my hopes and expectations of what should be getting done, but a little bit, uh, a little piece of me, I would say, believes that they might not be as far along in this as we may think. So let's just hear what the police chief had to say today.
So I know there's been some questions about the leadership in this investigation. What I want people to know is this is a Moscow Police Department investigation. We're utilizing the resources of the FBI and the state police, but we pick the investigators. My command team oversees this. We have 9.
He seems you every time I say something about somebody on law enforcement, so many people come after me. You tell me in the chat what you think his disposition is saying and what you think it means. And is he also saying and insinuating that he picks the leaders of the FBI? It's a little bit what it sounded like.
FBI and state police, but we pick the investigators. My command team oversees this. We have 94 years of experience between us, and we're going to continue to work this case.
94 years of experience. They don't sound like much, considering how many people are involved in working on it. And I would ask this: how many years of experience do you guys have working quadruple homicides? Because there hasn't been one since, well, I don't know when the last time quadruple homicide was. There hasn't been a homicide since 2015. Hey, Lanny, thank you so much for hopping aboard the super sticker train. We're looking to get to 20. That's number 3. Really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We're going to continue to work it to the completion. We have a lot of resources that we're utilizing, but we still ask for your help. We ask for any tips that you might have, anything that you might be able to give us. We're going to take a look at those, but be assured that this investigation is the Moscow Police Department's, and I am the chief, and we're going to follow through with this. And just know that from
He half of the public relations, it's hard to figure out what's going on because he's only done a couple of these things. The captain has done a lot of them, and then the public information officer has done a bunch of them. So there's 3 people that are sort of fielding the interviews and doing them, and so it's really hard to process what's being said. And and there was a report coming out today that was basically saying that they're confident that they are confident. And I'm like, I don't know if they should be confident. What's there to be confident about? They have nothing to the best of my knowledge at this point. It just feels like they have nothing.
the very beginning of this, we've been a unified group, and we make decisions together. But those ultimately, I stand behind at the end. I'd like to update you on our tips so far.
I don't know. I don't know what. I think they need somebody help writing press releases for them. I would help them. I'd help if they want me to help them. I'd come out and help them write something that I think would be a little bit better than what he just said. Hey, Sister Sleuth, thank you for that super sticker. What an amazing blessing. Appreciate that. That's number 4 on our goal to get to 20.
We've received 7,600 email tips. We've received 4,300 phone tips. We've received 4,500 digital tips. All of this helps build the picture that we're trying to put together here to solve this case. What we want you to know is we appreciate all your help. We appreciate everything that you've done, but we're asking that if you have anything additional, please just send it to us through our tip line or through our email tip.
How many of those tips are repeat tips or bogus tips? It's like fake numbers when they say things like that. Hey, Melissa, thank you so much for that Cash App. I really appreciate that as a major blessing. I don't know, guys. I'm just saying, like, I don't feel very confident in what he's saying. And if he would have said, listen, I'm totally in charge of this investigation, but there's some realizations that we have that as a local police department, there's a whole lot of things that we need help being resourced with. And so we're working hand in hand with the FBI, and the FBI is working hand in hand with us to make sure at the end of the day, we're driving to the most solid resolution in what's going to happen in this case. We're going to solve this. It didn't feel like that. It almost felt like he was posturing up against the FBI. Make no mistake about it. This is the Moscow Police Department's investigation, and I'm in charge. Okay, I don't know if that's what the public wanted to hear. From my perspective, the public wants to hear that this thing's going to be solved and could care less who's in charge of it, as long as whoever's in charge of it is selfless and is working with whatever resources are available, get down to the bottom of it. So I think a better statement would have said, hey, Chief Fry here, I want you to know we're doing everything we can to get down to the bottom of this. I believe we have the right people because we're working hand in hand with our staff, which is amazing. If you knew about the experience and some of what they had before coming on to the force at Moscow, and then on top of what we have with the A team at the FBI, I believe we're heading towards a resolution in this case, and we're working really hard. Thank you for supporting us. Also, it's been very difficult because it's holiday time and our staff is overworked. please say some prayers and send some thoughts their way. Something like that would be super helpful. Hey Naomi, thank you for that super sticker. What an amazing blessing. Kathy, you too. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That takes us to 6 on our super sticker train. Hey Duck for life. Really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Number 7. Hey, what's up, Caprice? You said, I agree with you. I think we all need to pray really hard, especially that it doesn't happen again in the meantime. I know that's one of my fears, that it's going to happen again in the meantime, either in that direct area, like in Moscow, or somewhere else in the nation. How many people think that whoever did this is capable of doing it again? And there's some theories, right? Like if it was a targeted attack and Kaylee really was the target, then like nobody has anything to worry about pretty much, right? At least in the meantime, probably. However, if it was just a weird serial killer, like we heard about the Gainesville Ripper or Ted Bundy or whatever stories of serial killers we've heard, they might strike again. So either way, we need to be working to get to a resolution on this 100 million%. So overall, I would rate his public facing statement today, like, I don't know, like a 7 out of 10. He gave one, which is nice, and I appreciate that. He did have confidence, I felt like, in his delivery and what he was saying. Although I wish he would have pushed more towards a resolution that they're fighting for, and made that sort of like the center of his argument, instead of making it seem like we would take heart knowing that Moscow's taking a bigger lead on it than the FBI. I don't know about you, but that the Moscow Police Department has a significantly smaller size of staff and don't have the type of resources that need to fundamentally be available to solve this case. So I just didn't take as much heart in that as maybe he was hoping that some of us would. Rob, welcome to the Feller fam. Really appreciate that. What an amazing blessing. We're trying to get to 5 people in the Feller fam today. In fact, so much so I wore my Feller fam shirt right here. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, Rob. That's amazing. Hey, Caprice, thank you for that. That takes us to 9 on our route to get to 20 on our super sticker train. What an amazing blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You hear it all the time. There is no detail too small in a murder investigation, and you can multiply that by 4 in the Idaho case. But one detail that has just surfaced is 17 seconds long, and it is anything but small. It's new surveillance video of Kaylee Gonzalez and Maddie Mogan on the night that they were murdered, and the video was captured
I know this was a topic that we had talked about, but I hadn't heard her say it yet.
at 1:30 in the morning. They're on their way to the now infamous food truck after spending the evening at a corner club bar. That's the corner club famous in downtown Moscow. The surveillance cameras at a local business captured the video of the girls as they made their way down the sidewalk towards the food truck from the bar. If you take a look at a map, you can see exactly where they had been at the corner club, 10:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., and where they were going to the grub truck, 1:40 a.m., and where this camera captured the images on Main Street. It even captured what the girls were saying, and you can hear it clear as a bell. Let's listen.
What did you say to Adam? I told Adam everything.
Did you hear that? Kaylee yells to Maddie, "What did you say to Adam?" And Maddie answers, "Like I told Adam everything."
So Banfield says this is very significant. What do you guys think? Do you think it was a piece of significant evidence that was collected? Hey, Allison, thank you for that super sticker. What takes us halfway to our goal. 10 more. Thank you so much.
So here it is again. You can clearly hear that exchange between the two girls.
What did you say to Adam? I told Adam everything.
But the $64,000 question is, who is Adam? And it's a good question. And another good question, who on earth was the hooded?
Doug for Life says KMTR TV says that is the car 1 hour ago. I don't know. Did they say that in particular? Because what I had heard them say was something a little bit differently. Like the police are investigating it. Like I've been literally looking at every single piece of information that I can look at, like nonstop. Pretty much everything that you could possibly know about this white Hyundai Elantra, I've researched it, and I don't know if I've seen that. So email me the report that you're seeing. Thank you for your super chat too, by the way.
Man walking down the sidewalk with the girls in that video. There is an uncanny resemblance to the hooded man who was standing behind the girls at the food truck the whole time that they were there, like plus 10 minutes. And the man that police said they cleared early on. Joining me now is Shannon Gray. He is the attorney representing the family of Kaylee Gonzalez. Mr. Gray, thank you so much for being here. So let's start with Adam. Who exactly is Adam? And has Adam been helpful at all in this investigation?
It's my understanding that Adam is just the bartender at the corner bar that they were referring to. I think it was just conversation they were having between the two of them. I don't think he's involved in the investigation at all, though. So,
but wouldn't he? I mean, you've done so much investigative work, and you've been a prosecutor and a defense attorney in murder cases, so you know how it works. And I would imagine that anybody who saw these girls in the hours before they died might be able to at least say who was in the bar, whether they witnessed anything unusual. What was it when they said, "I told Adam everything"? Do you have any idea what that meant? Was that something Adam could enlighten everybody to?
I have no idea. I can't speak to that conversation. I would hope that the Moscow Police Department would follow up with this video and
I hope they're following up with it as well. Hey, Mickey Duff, thank you so much for that super sticker. What an amazing blessing. Okay, guys, this is the video that Duck for Life sent me earlier today. Let me see. She's just sort of walking around it. It's funny because there was another YouTuber that was like taking a picture of the vehicle on the road, and that other YouTuber caught her making this video for our channel, which I thought was really funny. But we definitely have that. Let me see. She's sending me the KMTR. Authorities and I know said the registered just was spotted near the scene. Authorities in Idaho said that the registered owner of a white Hyundai Elantra that was spotted near the scene of a quadruple murder in Idaho has been found. Huh. It's interesting that they were saying it's not involved. Let me pull. She sent me the news article, so I'm gonna show it up to you guys. I'm gonna skip what I was gonna say, and I'm gonna put this on the screen if it's still up. Well, I'll just do the image. Golly. Hang on, guys. Just a second. I'll show you what. So that's not their news title anymore, Duck for Life, just so you know. Hey, Mickey Duff, thank you for that super sticker. I put it on the screen a second ago, but I totally forgot to thank you for it. Really appreciate that. You have such amazing support you always bring to the table here. Thank you so much for believing in us. Laura from Long Island, thank you. Duck for Life says, I'm looking for the update. Well, thank you, Duck for Life, for your support. Really appreciate that. Here's what she sent me, guys. This was an hour ago on the NBC 16. Authorities in Idaho, so Chief Fry that we just listened to, said that the registered owner of a white Hyundai Elantra that was spotted near the scene of a quadruple murder in Idaho has been found in Idaho. So they're saying if their journalist did this correctly, they're saying that it has been found. Like if I'm reading this correctly. So put a 1 in the chat if you think it's true. Put a 2 in the chat if you think it's fake news. 1 for true, 2 for fake news. It's hard to tell these days what's true and what's fake news. I mean, it's from NBC News, but I think they may have since changed the update. So let me go to the KMTR NBC 16 page and see what they're saying now. They should apologize if this is a fake. So you think everybody would be doing it now. Nope. They've since sort of recanted their statement. So who knows? That was a bold line of them to say that. Okay. So, but here's the car. Thank you to Duck for Life for giving us this exclusive video of that vehicle. Again, guys, it's just sitting on the side of the road, like on 7th Avenue, right there in the middle of Eugene, Oregon. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Duck for Life says they pulled the article. I wonder why they pulled it. Is it because it's actually the vehicle and they don't want us to know about it, or what? It's hard to know. There's so many conflicting stories. Thank you so much for your hard work. I really appreciate that. Okay. Let me see. I didn't understand why this rear view mirror is right there. Why is the rear view mirror on the outside of the vehicle? But the thing that I'm very curious about is actually that parking ticket right there. Another thing that really caught my mind and attention is this jacket right here, because it reminded me a little bit of the jacket that Maddie was wearing. And why is there a jacket under the hood of a vehicle? So I need your guys to help me make some sense of this. What's going on? There's the VIN number. Did a search on that. I mean, I could give you the report, but I don't know if it's worth our energy and time today to put it up on the screen. But essentially, it's like someone in Colorado recently purchased it in September. This is the thing I'm really concerned about. And this, if we could figure out what this logo is for, it says wood and the O's are sort of circled together. I'm sure it's the second half of a word like Lindenwood or something like that. And the parking permit, it looks, there's some dates and stuff on this parking permit. So I wish we would have had a little more information around this parking ticket, because I think it could really help us. So that to me appears to be like probably the most important pieces of this footage. The Eugene Police Department has came out and said that this vehicle was involved in a crash, and that's sort of like why it ended up where it ended up, and they maybe fled the scene. I don't understand. Somebody explain to me why we're living in, in my opinion, the greatest nation in America, and we have a city that's covered with abandoned cars on the side of the road, especially now one that's potentially involved in a super, 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 super high profile murder. Hey, Chad, welcome to the Feller fam. Really appreciate that. That makes 2 of you guys today. We're trying to get to 5. Thank you. He said, I think it belongs to Pamela. It's Rec 1216. I was on a live. Owner from Colorado, but believed to be stolen. Parking permit is from Candlewood Hotel. So that's interesting. I wonder if it was stolen before or after November 13th. Do you know? Did Pamela get it stolen before or after November 13th? Is Pamela missing? When did she go missing? But I don't know if we actually can figure out who owns it, I think it'd be really hard for us to figure out who that owner is. And do hotels thank you for your super chat too, by the way, Hotspot. Do we have rules in our country that you can't purchase hotel rooms with cash? You have to use a credit card? Because if that's the case, it'd be really easy to track down this Candlewood Suites. I wonder, is there a Candlewood Suites in Moscow, Idaho? There's a La Quinta. There's one in Idaho Falls, which that's a long way away from Moscow. So Pamela's apparently missing. Huh. So we've investigated the VIN number like pretty in depth. That VIN number is not really telling us ownership information. We'd have to pull records in like title and registration requests. So we're not technically able to do that. So we were looking at any information we could find, and it was from Colorado. So a vehicle from Colorado ends up in Oregon. You could definitely drive through Moscow, Idaho on your way if you wanted to, take a slight detour. It's not even that much of a detour. It's interesting, the article that did come out originally from NBC 16 today, saying authorities in Idaho said the registered owner of a white Hyundai Elantra that was spotted has been found in Eugene. Is that a mess up or is that a premature slip of the tongue? I don't know the exact information to get to the bottom of that, but I think it's very peculiar. And we also saw Inside Edition sort of like covering this a little bit today, trying to share what they think is happening.
Has the most wanted car in America been found? A 2013 Elantra was abandoned on busy West 7th Avenue in Eugene, Oregon. It's 460 miles from Moscow, Idaho, where the 4 college roommates were slain. There's extensive damage to the front of the vehicle, and look, the license plate has been removed. Why?
Whoever wanted the VIN number, Chad Burns, I tagged you in it, but maybe other people want it too. It's right there, 5NPDH4AE7DH372732. Sounds like a song. INDEP. There's a song that says that. Sounds like a song. Yeah, good point, Brandy. If it has nothing to do with this case, maybe it will help bring a resolve to Pamela if Pamela is actually, a part of what's going on here.
That sticker says Rainbow. Could that be a dealership?
Yeah, let's look at Rainbow Hyundai dealerships and just see where they're at. Rainbow Hyundai. Rainbow Hyundai. Rainbow Hyundai. Rainbow Luxury Imports. Hyundai's for sale in Covington, Louisiana. Huh? I don't think they would have bought one in Louisiana, do you? So...
The suspicious vehicle was reported Saturday at...
See where it's at right there? It's still on the side of the road sitting there. How does that make any sense to you? It certainly doesn't make any sense to me.
5:18 a.m. A Eugene police spokesman says, "We have sent the vehicle information to Moscow, Idaho police." And get this, one of the murder victims, Madison Mogan, was born in Eugene. Inside Edition spoke to News Nation's Brian Enton.
I've seen pictures from the inside. There's all sorts of wrappers and receipts and papers. That could be evidence. There could be fingerprints. There could be DNA evidence. If this is connected, and that's a big if, there's a lot of evidence that they could find in that car.
For the last 2 weeks, detectives investigating the murders have been looking for a white 2011 to 2013 Elantra, saying the driver or passengers have critical information. A car can be a goldmine of forensic evidence. It's not clear how long the Elantra had been there, but Eugene police tell Inside Edition a homeless person was sleeping in it. And you could see where someone has broken a window to open the passenger door.
Everybody's hoping that it could be a breakthrough.
At one point, Jennifer Coffindaffer had said that this could be our car. I'm starting to, I don't know, I'm so on the fence about what the significance in the car is. Do you think, and I'm going to have you vote 1, 2, or 3. Do you think that the person who drove this car, 1, is the killer? Do you think the person who drove this car, number 2, knows critical information? Or do you think the person who drove the white Hyundai Elantra, number 3, knows absolutely nothing? Put it in the chat what you think is the case. I think it's either 1 or 3. I think either they know nothing and they're like a grandma and totally wasn't paying attention to the news and hasn't been paying attention to the news, or they're the killer. Because if it was somebody who knows information, why wouldn't they come forward at this point? A lot of you guys are saying nothing, knows number 3, 1, 1. A lot of you guys are saying they know critical information. So you're surprising me. You guys are really surprising me in the chat. Like, very much I'm being surprised by you guys in the chat right now. It's causing me to want to do a poll about this. So I'm going to do a brand new poll just so I can see the numbers a little more precisely, because they were kind of all over the place. Is the driver of the white Hyundai Elantra killer? Knows something, is oblivious. So there you go. I got a great question, and we'll figure it out in just a minute once you guys vote.
A white Hyundai Elantra without license plates and front end damage found in Eugene, Oregon, hundreds of miles from Moscow, Idaho. Could it be the car police have been searching for weeks? I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. We've been following the investigation into the murders of those 4 University of Idaho students since it happened back on November 13th. Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin all found stabbed to death in that home on King Road. Police have been asking for leads for weeks about a white Hyundai Elantra between the years of 2011 and 2013 that was in the immediate area of the crime scene that morning. We now have photos from Tuesday morning about that vehicle. Photos of it have been circulating online since Monday, and these are photos of a very similar vehicle found on West 7th Street in Eugene, Oregon. There is front end damage. The bumper is hanging off. It's dirty, and there are no license plates. So that is a similar vehicle to the one they're looking for that's been found. And I contacted Moscow police about it, and they told me that they are aware of the vehicle and they are working on it. And Eugene, Oregon police say that they will be impounding that vehicle. And joining me to talk about all of this is Jennifer Koffendorfer. She is a retired FBI agent. Jennifer, welcome back to Sidebar. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you for having me.
Jennifer, let's start with this white car. It's a white Hyundai Elantra. The photos are floating around on the internet, and they show a Hyundai Elantra with front end damage, no license plates on a street corner in Eugene, Oregon. We're not saying it's the car, but Moscow PD tells me they are aware of the vehicle. They're investigating it. Eugene PD.
Man, I'm so frustrated by all the different news agencies saying one thing and the next agency saying another thing and the next news agency saying another thing. I just read 3 articles. One article says this is absolutely the car from well-established news agencies. This is why I'm telling you guys it's so important. It's not either, YouTube user. I'm wait for me to finish my sentences because I'm going to tell you something about that. This is why I get so frustrated about mainstream news mainstream news. Sorry, my words are coming out a little bit slower than I want them to today. I read one article an hour ago. It says it's absolutely the car. I read another article an hour ago. Police are investigating it. I read another article just a couple of minutes ago. Not involved. Not the car. Okay, we need to get down to the bottom of this. And I've been saying it all along, like YouTubers and people like me that are creating content in this way are a much better source of reliability on these cases because we know all the nuances of it. And so it's really frustrating to me. We can't get down to the bottom of it. Let's see what Jennifer Koffendorfer had to say.
He told me they had notified Moscow about it. So your thoughts and feelings as a retired FBI agent on this vehicle just appearing on the street corner with no plates and front end damage?
Well, certainly law enforcement would be completely remiss not to take this clue seriously. They need to go out and discover why in the world and how in the world that ended up there. And if there is any connection, remember, and this is just an interesting little nugget, but Maddie was born there in Eugene. I don't want to say she was necessarily raised there. From the information I've been able to find, she spent her early years there. But nevertheless, there is a slight connection to one of our victims. In addition, it's odd for a vehicle to sustain this sort of damage, not have a license plate, be abandoned. It is somewhat contemporaneous with these murders. Granted, it's
if this car has nothing to do with the case, then it is very peculiar. And especially if the ownership of the car had an LLC or had a business or had an address of 1122, which was initially being talked about. Other than that, people just need to quit perpetuating lies and rumors, because someone commented on my video earlier today that I showed the video that Duck for Life sent, and someone commented and said, "Oh, I heard whoever had this car used to live at the 112 King Road in Moscow." And somebody else commented and said, "It's true, it's true." So That cannot be true. That cannot be true. Brian Ensign's now reporting. I'll show you his tweet, and then I want to go back to this video of Jennifer Coffendaver. Brian Ensign is now reporting the Moscow Police Department say that the Hyundai Elantra located in Eugene, Oregon is not believed to be connected to the murders. He said, and I think that, Brian Ensign's somebody that I respect in these cases. Hey, Rob, you said that's what I've been saying, Tyler. The constant rigmarole in the media has clouded everything. That's why I just go to your live streams. Well, thank you for trusting me. We're trying to get down to the bottom of it. It does. The media is not a good source of information for us, not even 1%, in my opinion. So, yeah, I agree. We got to get down to the bottom of this. Thank you for your just unwavering support and belief that we're getting the job done, too. By the way, we're on a super sticker train. That's number 17, trying to get to 20. Thank you so much for that. Doug for Life says if they impounded the car, that is very interesting. Well, you would know, right? Because you're sort of in that area. I don't understand why they don't impound it immediately as is. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I never see cars on the side of the road ever one time in my life. If I do, it's because something recently had just happened, like in minutes before that. There's not cars sitting all over the side of the road. I believe in law and order, and having condos in the form of 4-door sedans for homeless people to sleep in, trashing up your city, doesn't seem like a great solution. They should be impounding these cars and recycling them or whatever needs to be done when there's cars like that and this kind of thing happens. But I agree. It'd be very interesting. Thank you for your super chat. Hey, Maria Brown, thank you so much. I appreciate that super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Rainbow Melon, it's not normal there. They don't do it in Eugene, Oregon. You got to understand the cultural context. I get what you're saying. Like I'm saying, it should be normal everywhere, but it's not normal in that particular area. Here's today's report from Brian Ensign as he's saying the Hyundai Elantra located in Eugene, Oregon is not believed to be connected to the murder. He says investigators went back in the house. That's probably the big news. And guys, kind of one thing that I think also happens in these cases, when there's something that we really need to be focusing on, they trick us like, oh, look over here, this shiny little thing over here. And we take our attention off of what we really need to be thinking about in this case. For example, investigators going back into the house, removing items from the house today. That's probably what we should be talking about. And instead, we're chasing this, I don't know, red heron, which I don't even know the etymology of that phrase, why we say it or what it means, but we're chasing this lofty ideal way off in Eugene, Oregon that probably has nothing to do with this. Even a part of me thinks that from the get-go, this white Hyundai Elantra has nothing to do with it. So I think we probably should be thinking about what the heck are they doing back at the house? They are a month and 7 days in. They're a month and 7 days in, so exactly 5 weeks in today, and they're still collecting evidence from the house. Hey, Deborah! Hey! Thank you for your super chat. It's really good to see you. Hey, Lorianne, hope you're doing well. Thank you for that super sticker. Dawn, you said, I think it's too much of a coincidence, and the real story is not being revealed by the law enforcement agencies involved. This is a mess all the way around. What are they holding back? Thoughts? I think I'm going to lean on the words of Steve Gonsalves, which he came out and said, that he said the other day. He basically came out and said the other day that he believes and has this sort of like thought process that law enforcement actually want to tell him more information than they're able to. And the reason that they are not is basically because there's lawyers interfering with that line of communication because they want to be able to have a more solid case if this goes into litigation at some point. And so I don't know. I don't really know if the law enforcement are hiding something or not. But we're beginning to see that the institutions that our nation has taken such a privilege in trusting, and we thought were built with cornerstones of brick, were actually built with the hay and straw that the wolf came and huffed and puffed and blew down. And I think that that is very concerning. And so I think what you're saying is a reflection of what's been happening culturally around the world. I mean, look at the Twitter files and what's coming out and the mass collusion between big tech and big government working together to conceal information that was clearly one-sided and fit agendas. And this whole time, we thought that it was justice for everyone and freedom for all, not just for half of America. And yet, whenever a pioneer takes the helm and decides to expose this, we get a tiny glimpse into the level of censorship that we're actually living in. And I think that that's really concerning. And so now, every time we hear information about cases like the Idaho murders, we're in a position as citizens where we don't believe what we hear until we actually see the evidence to back it up. And like that's some of my issue with Chief Fry. He's basically wanting people just to trust him. Well, we don't know him. And what we do know about institutions across the land since the past 2 years or 3 years of 2020 when COVID hit until now, we don't trust what we're hearing. Hey, Hotspot, you said there are misleading web sleuths for distractions. I agree. Thank you for your super chat. I agree. I think that that could be a massive part of it because they've been somewhat frustrated with people online. And they said they would prosecute them. So they pretty much hate people that are making YouTube videos about this case, in my opinion. Heavenly Clouds, thank you for that super sticker. What a blessing. Hotspot coming in hot. Hotspot coming in hot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate you guys. And I'm sorry that I just got on a big soapbox, but I care deeply about our nation. I, at one time, whenever I was a child, had an internal desire to one day run for office and represent people at a government level, just believing and hoping that the best is in front of us and not behind us for our nation. But as more and more and more things sort of get uncovered, there's some aspects of it that really cause me uh, to just be in utter disbelief about the fractured state of our nation. And they put on happy faces in the middle of inflation, where our dollar used to be able to get paper towels for $6 for a pack of them, and now we're paying 14. And shrinkflation, when we used to get 20 ounces in a bottle of water, now we're just getting 16 ounces. And they're trying to make us pretend like we're living in Europe using the metric system. We're not. We're using much different system that makes a whole lot less sense, but we like it and it's ours. And I want 20 ounces in my water bottle, not 16. And they think they can squeeze, instead of 50 chips in a bag, 30 chips in a bag, and we won't notice. I don't like it. And then they put a big grin on their faces and try to make us think that everything that they're doing is for the benefit of us, when at the end of the day, they're putting their money into the stock market and somehow having 140 or 150 million dollars in their bank account despite only making $120,000 a year. Tell me how that makes any sense. It doesn't. And people like us need to raise our voices before they get censored too much. So when we hear things like this happening in this case, it's impossible for us pretty much to believe anything. I'm like, I don't know if I believe anything that we're hearing. I'll tell you that much. I don't know if there's anything reliable. Brian Enton may be the most reliable because he's there boots on the ground and investigating it himself up close and personal.
News Nation cameras there as two investigators show up at the house in Moscow, Idaho, where 4 college students were murdered. 37 days after the killings, the investigators, carrying a black case, went inside. 20 minutes later, the investigators came out, but did not answer questions.
Sir, can you tell us what you were looking for? Why you were back at the house? Do you know anything about the Hyundai Elantra found in Oregon?
Moscow police confirm they are aware of a Hyundai Elantra located in Eugene, Oregon, the same model they are looking for in connection with the murders. Police say they are working with investigators in Oregon to determine if the car is related to the case. Police in Oregon say they have no information to indicate the vehicle is related. Police also say the surveillance video obtained by News.
Even Brian Enton, what did he spend 30 seconds talking about the fact that they went in there? What is in that? Is that a DNA box? What is this that they're going in there with? And what did they come out with? It looks like they come out with nothing. That needs to be explored more. What did he spend? 20 seconds on this? And then he switched to the car, and then he's switching to this footage? We already know about this footage.
Police also say this surveillance video obtained by News Nation that shows victims Kaylee Gonzalez and Maddie Mogan walking hours before the murders is known to investigators. And they say they've identified the man referenced as Adam in the video. Police say he is cooperating with detectives. The attorney representing the Gonzalez family told Ashley Banfield he has concerns about the experience of detectives, especially the lead investigator on the case.
Oh, we'll talk about him because I got a whole article about him pulled up. So let me see. Are you guys concerned about the lead investigator on the case? And I wonder why this guy is feeling, I mean, this guy's representing Kaylee and Maddie. I wonder why he's feeling some concern about the lead investigator on the case. And if you guys would recall, think back to that September 1st little knock at the door where law enforcement go to the 1122 King Road house where they were having a party and they were responding to a noise complaint. Guess what? The lead detective on this case is the one of 3 officers who had responded to that call. That has me curious. There's another little tidbit of information that I want to know, and nobody's been able to share it with me yet, and I haven't had much free time to be researching it myself, but I want to know, what were the names of the 2 undercover police officers that were handing out alcohol tickets that night? Because if it happens to be the same police officer 3 times in my line of thinking is called a theme. And that theme is something that we build theories around. And so if it's once, if it's twice, all right, coincidence, whatever. If it's 3 times, I'm sounding a big fat alarm and we need to explore it. And I don't know, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, nothing like that. But what I am saying is it gives us a little clue piece and an opportunity to get down to the bottom of something that we weren't well aware of yet. And now here we have, by the way, Lou, thank you for that super sticker. And now here we have the attorney representing Kaylee and Maddie coming public and saying to the whole wide world, I have some problems with the main guy who's leading this investigation. Well, I wonder what those problems are. Is it that he was also involved on the call on September 1st to that same house? Or are there other problems that are not yet talked about that maybe we can get down to the bottom of talking about? So I want to know that. I want to know that. So a lot of you guys are saying, I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. By the way, guys, I'm a part of a really amazing app that there's a lot of true crime creators on. And in fact, I had some conversations with the people who developed the app. And one thing that they said to me was that they are trying to really focus on true crime content as they're growing this app. And they said every single day they have so many new people coming and they're pushing sort of a true crime agenda as they're building it out. So it's going to be a really amazing app. I love having an opportunity to be on there and share my thoughts about these cases as they arise. And so I would encourage you, I just put the link in the chat, click on that link and then go follow me. It's just my name, Tyler Feller, no spaces, and give me a follow on there. And then I would be more than happy to continue our conversations about these cases on there. So let's get back to Steve and see what he's saying in regards to this lead detector, Corporal Payne. By the way, you guys can also support through Cash App, which is $ Tyler Feller 22. If you haven't hit the like button yet on the video, that's a really great way to help us out too.
My understanding is that he was hired in 2020 as a rookie, and so he has a total of 2 years experience.
The Moscow police chief responded this way.
I know there's been some questions about the leadership in this investigation. What I want people to know is this is a Moscow Police Department investigation. We're utilizing the resources of the
His facial expressions, I hope he's reading off a teleprompter, and I think he probably is, because otherwise I think there might be something a little unusual about his facial expressions. Don says, could the cop be a killer? Could a cop be a killer? It happens. Yeah, absolutely. It happens. And at this point, they didn't say that there's no police officers on their list of cleared people or whatever. There's only just a couple of people that they said were cleared. They didn't list any police officers. So that would lead us to believe every other person in the entire city of Moscow is a potential suspect.
the FBI and state police, but we pick the investigators. My command team oversees.
I don't know what he means by that. They pick the investigators. Does that mean they picked Corporal Payne out of their 25 investigators to be part of the 6 people who are working on it from Moscow? Or does he mean they picked the 60 FBI agents? And if that's the case, he's just drawing names out of a hat as if he would know everybody that the FBI has to offer to be able to send. He doesn't get a roster list. He doesn't know them personally. So I have no idea what he means. We pick the investigators. What the heck does that mean? You pick the investigators. I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful in any type of way. I just do not understand what that sentence means. We pick the investigators. Well, what investigators do you pick? Because if you're picking from the Moscow Police Department, there's not a whole lot of people that you can pick from. You have 25 employees and 6 of them are assigned to this case. So you're picking from a team of 6 people for one of them to be the lead. Okay? That doesn't really make sense. It's not like you're, picking out of the NBA draft or something. You get to pick from like 1,000 different potential athletes, McDonald's All-Americans and stuff. If he's picking from the FBI, that again doesn't make any sense. Why would they let a local police chief or sheriff pick from the FBI roster? And even if he was doing that, he has no idea who any of them are. So he needs to understand that when he says a sentence like that, we have no idea what that even means. It's almost like a sentence that helps us to try to feel reassured, but in fact, the more that we investigate it, it makes us feel the exact opposite. Are you kidding me? You pick them? What the heck does that mean? That doesn't make me feel better because I don't understand the meaning behind it. So if any of you guys have any understanding of what that could possibly mean, please help me understand. Now, Lou says, do you think all this discussion, online evidence, etc., is helping the killer and killers and making the case more difficult for police? I don't think it's helping the killer at all. I think if anything, it's making the killer feel more paranoid. And like if he makes a wrong move, that there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people on his case instantly. I think that when they release a piece of information like a white Hyundai Elantra, he might do something like ditch it on the side of the road in Eugene, Oregon, because he thought that he got away with it. Or who knows, sold it to a homeless person in a Candlewood Suite parking lot and told them to drive it to Eugene, Oregon for $100. I mean, there's a lot of things that come to my mind about how it's helpful what we're doing. It creates a paranoia and a fear that causes them to sort of push out in a unique way. I'd be interested to hear what you guys. Social media is one of the most significant and important things in these cases. We're fighting for justice. We're sounding the alarm. We're not covering any other cases primarily until we get down to the bottom of what's happening in this case. And we're, in my opinion, doing a service to the families by being able to be an amplified and exaggerated voice that they're not able to offer. Because when Steve Gonsalves started trying to do that, it ended up sort of backfiring on him. We saw in the Gabby Petito case a family that really rallied around online people, YouTubers, my channel even. I found out that some of Gabby Petito's family enjoyed the coverage that we were producing at that time. And they really got behind YouTube creators and supported what they were doing because they knew that it was leading to meaningful resolutions. And so what really should happen, and this is something that maybe we can pray for, or if we get an inside scoop, say to the Gonsalves family or what other families may be out there, that the Chapin and the Cardonal bunch, and say, hey, listen, there's a group of really trusted online content creators that if you give them some talking points, we can really raise the temperature in some certain areas that will cause an effect, because public sort of attitudes about certain things can shift. And so that's one way that the Petito family was really savvy, and it was really helpful. Hey, Amy Heights, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you. You're really amazing. Thank you for all your support to this channel. And Dawn says, why don't we hear from the FBI? I mean, that agency has much more experience. One thing about the FBI, Dawn, is that when they're working cases, they have a pretty strict strategy to never make press releases or make public statements unless something's like resolved. And so in the whole time of the Gabby Petito case, I think they made 2 or 3 statements, and that was it. And the time of the Dylan Rounds case, they made 1 joint statement, and that was it. So it's their policy that they don't come out and talk about these things publicly. Hey, Dak0526, you said Oregon State is 1 hour past Eugene and is a college town. One of the victims was originally from Eugene. Could this be a person driving back home? 100%. It absolutely could be somebody driving back home. 100%. Obviously, we don't have any evidence of anything like that, but 1,000,000% it could be that way. Hey, Jillian, really appreciate that. You too, Lanny. Thank you for your super sticker. Patty Davila, how are you? Thank you for your support. Really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for your support today. Really means a lot. I love you guys. Those of you who are part of the Feller fam, I posted it on our Facebook page today. Just love you guys. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. We cannot do what we do unless you guys get behind us, support us, believe in what we do, watch the program. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for your amazing support.
We have 94 years of experience between us.
So the police chief there wanting to make clear.
There's 60 FBI agents and 6 people from Moscow working, and that adds up to 94 years of experience. That's not enough experience. It's not enough experience. Like, I work for a ministry where we go in and consult with churches all around the country. And we one time were like, let's count up how many hours our employees have working at like the senior leadership level in churches. And it was like 1,700 years of experience. So when somebody says 94 years of experience, I'm thinking to myself, that really isn't very much. That really is not very much.
That they are still in control of this investigation, that they have the experience here locally. They also have about 60 FBI agents assisting them with the case, but still now, 37 days later, Nicole, no suspect and no persons of interest.
All right, so Brian, 37 days later, but a lot of tips still coming in on this.
Yeah, a ton of tips. I was going over.
No, I actually didn't misread it. I do think I was just trying to be exaggerative on purpose. I think he means out of the 6 or 7 people from Moscow that are working on it, they have 94 years of experience. But then it's interesting, if on average they have 15 years of experience per person, then why did they pick the person who has no experience to be the lead of the detective? You said, I find you to be arrogant and hide behind your face. You are not in law enforcement, nor are you an attorney, nor do you know anything about me or my credentials or my background. I find you to be a little bit arrogant personally. And if you don't like our channel, you don't have to watch it. And you definitely don't have to make comments like that are insincere. So you are immature. Are you talking about yourself? I'm confused. What's going on right now?
Over the numbers today. I mean, we're talking like more than 10,000 tips when you add up the digital tips and the emails and the calls. They've been going through them all. Most of the tips get routed to the FBI center because there's just so many. They've been overloaded here in Moscow. They've also done 250 interviews, all related to this case, Nicole.
Wow, all related to this case. Today's report from Moscow. Okay, we already watched that. Latest from Eugene, Oregon regarding the Hyundai. 5:19 a.m. on December 17th. So this is 3 days old. That has been sitting there. That car has been sitting there for 3 days. I didn't realize that. I thought it was discovered yesterday on December 19th. Today's December 20th. It was found on December 17th. At 5:19 a.m. on December 17th, 3 days ago, a person was reported sleeping inside of a vehicle. It was a Hyundai Elantra. Well, how then that car had probably been sitting there since December 16th. And then a homeless guy got inside of it. My gosh. Officers responded to the call at 7th and Seneca. The contact was made. There was no further report. We have no information to indicate if the vehicle is related to the Moscow case. However, they were sent the vehicle information to review it. Moscow police chief says the command team over the murder investigation has 94 years of experience. Be assured that this investigation and is the Moscow Police Department. I am the chief, and we're going to follow through with this. 2 investigators just showed up to the house in Moscow where the murders happened. They were carrying a black case and inside for 20 minutes. I saw them through the window on the second floor. They did not answer my questions when they left. Okay, let's see what happened. Like nothing. There's not even audio. Oh. Okay, I'm rewinding because I didn't know if he said anything. The security lady got. Hang on, let me go back a little bit. I want to see. She gets out of her car and then says, "Oh, good." The door's just unlocked.
We're all locked back up again.
Sir, can you tell us what you were looking for? Why you were back at the house? Do you know anything about the Hyundai Elantra found in Oregon?
Guys, I apologize about the way I responded to that lady. I shouldn't have said it that way, and I do apologize. I don't think that she's immature. I really don't know her, and I do just want to say I apologize to her. I just get really upset when people try to weaponize my faith against me because anytime people have philosophical differences about Christianity, have been hurt by Christians in the past, they take it out on all of us, and I just get really upset about that. And that lady probably been hurt by a Christian before. I shouldn't have done it the way that I did, so I apologize. And I apologize to you guys for doing it that way. And I didn't mean to. I just didn't. It's hard to think while I'm trying to cover these murder cases and people begin to attack you personally. Here's what I wanted to talk about. This lead investigator in the Idaho murders is the United States Army vet. And then here's the big talking point. Just 2 years of police experience. As desperate FBI adds agents and families grow even more impatient. Officer Brett Payne joined the Moscow Police Department from the Army in 2020. He's 32 years old and is the lead investigator on the case. Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan died on November 13th. The Idaho students were all stabbed viciously while they slept in their beds. No one has been arrested, and police still don't have any leads in the case. The lead investigator in the excruciatingly slow probe of 4 murdered Idaho students is a 32-year-old United States Army veteran who only joined law enforcement 2 years ago. It's been over 5 weeks since Kaylee Gonzalez, Maddie Mogan, Xander Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were brutally slaughtered inside the house that the girls shared in Moscow. The killer remains on the loose, and the floundering Moscow Police Department has yet to name suspects. Do you guys think it's fair that the Daily Mail is calling them floundering? You guys think that's acceptable? Floundering? And by the way, in the 2 years that Brett Payne has been working at the Moscow Police Department, guess how many murders there have been? None. Unless you call some of the suspicious deaths, like, I don't know, suicide in the river by one of the frat boys. By the way, it's not even a river. I saw a video of it. It's like a tiny creek that doesn't look deep enough for somebody to drown in. Unless you call that a murder, which they said it was a drowning accidental suicide death or something like that. They haven't seen anything like this. The killer remains on the loose, and the floundering Moscow Police Department has yet to name any suspects, yet alone make any arrest. FBI this week added 30 agents to the case, I'm glad to know that the FBI is adding agents to the case. Now the lawyer for Kaylee's family has. Now I want to just think about this for a second. Maybe part of the reason why that police chief is coming out and saying things like, "Hey, I'm in charge, and this is a Moscow police department," is because the FBI just added 30 extra agents to the case. Maybe he's like, feeling insecure about the whole thing. I don't know that to be true. You guys will have to use some of your own discernment to figure that out for yourself. Could be true, and it might not be true, but there's a little piece of me that thinks it could be true. Now, the lawyer for Kaylee's family said that the man in charge, Brett Payne, has just been on the force for 2 years. There's a photo of him, but there is a picture of him right there in Afghanistan as part of the 82nd Airborne Division. It says we are supportive of the investigation and everybody working on it, but we also have to hold people accountable for the decisions that they're making. When we went into the meeting on Monday, Brett Payne is the individual who identified himself as the lead investigator. My understanding is that he was hired in 2020 as a rookie. He has a total of 2 years experience. I sent an email to the Moscow Police Department asking them to send some credentials over for some experience or some education that Officer Payne might have that would give us some confidence. And their response was, it's personal records and we're not privy to that. That doesn't make any sense to me. They can reveal that before joining the Moscow Police Department, Payne served in the 82nd Airborne Division in Afghanistan. Officer Payne joined the Moscow Police the police force, which was his first policing job, and he was awarded the Rookie of the Year. In the police department's annual report from that year, the department praised him extensively and gushed over his performance in the police academy. Officer Brett Payne was awarded the Champs Rookie of the Year award. Officer Payne brings a great deal of experience because of his military experience. Officer Payne was the first officer in POST history to be awarded 3 POST awards at the academy. His approach to community policing is exemplary. He has a desire to serve and protect the community. In addition, he regularly takes time away from his own tasks to help his coworkers, especially new officers. Whether it's citizens or other officers, Officer Payne is always willing to put his needs aside to assist others. He exemplifies the core values of our department and is an excellent example to other officers. While his military record may be impressive, the 82nd Division conducts forcible entry parachute assaults into denied areas. What makes him qualified to lead one of the most high-profile murder inquiries in recent memory remains unclear. Officer Payne did not immediately respond to inquiries. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's interesting, right? So it's like, yeah, clearly he is a great military man and has some success, but at the same time, despite his military experience, which was jumping out of parachutes and going to war against the Taliban in Afghanistan, well, what does he know much about investigating? Sure, heroic, sure, lots of courage. Does he know about investigations? Because those are definitely two different things. But I think he's resourceful. Maybe he has some contacts that might be able to help him. So I agree. I mean, like, we don't know. Maybe he has some. Maybe he did some undercover work we don't know about. Hey, MJ Casher, you said let's pray for the lead investigator. Absolutely. And we should definitely be doing that. And by the way, that reminds me that it's probably time to start another super sticker train. Thank you for being the first one to hop aboard. I'd really love it if we can get 20 people on the super sticker train. That'd be a blessing if we can get 20 people on the super sticker train. And you're the first one, MJ. Thank you so much for that. I want to go back to that interview with Jennifer Coffendaffer because there's some things that she typically says along the way that really sort of like are big clue pieces to me. So let's finish off what she was saying.
Numerous occasions, it is painstaking. You go moment by moment, keeping your eye to every detail on that clip, everything that surrounds, in other words, what's in the background that's happening, sound, if it's available. You have to really analyze moment by moment. And sometimes, as you mentioned, these clips are very long. They have requested from the 12th through the 14th for most of these video clips. So this isn't just a snapshot in time. They are looking for incidents that occurred in and around this event. So it's painstaking. Realize that many times this is going to be analytical work that are done by the FBI's analysts, and they are very well trained. They also go to Quantico to learn investigative techniques. They don't tote a gun, but they're very well versed in how and what to look for. And I expect throughout the United States, analysts in the FBI are reviewing these videos as we speak.
So throughout the United States, so they've got, all hands on deck looking at this, because yesterday we learned that they now have 60 FBI agents assigned to this case throughout the country. They had 46 last week. So they've increased the manpower by 14 agents. That seems significant.
It's very significant. And if you look early on to the first press release, they had 22. So we've really, they've increased by threefold the amount of agents they initially had, now into the 60s. And we're not even talking about analytical help, lab help, support help. In other words, the secretaries and clerical staff behind the scenes that are really making all of this go much quicker than it normally would in terms of turn.
So according to her, they've added more than 30. They added 38.
Around investigative findings of these agents. So you have basically the size of one of our field offices working on this, one of our smaller field offices. It's important. Everyone realizes we meaning the public, there's a killer on the loose. And this is nothing, it makes this case exigent. It's something that has to be addressed by law enforcement, both from a safety standpoint and, of course, from a justice standpoint. So the FBI really probably very early on, although the public might not realize it, was at the helm of this investigation. And certainly whether it's successful or not is going to be falling on the FBI and their efforts.
I want to talk about the video again. The fact that you have to painstakingly go through it, then maybe if you don't have a clear picture, it has to be enhanced. So we touched on this briefly on our last episode. What can the FBI do? I mean, I think people get a picture in their mind of some CSI lab where they do something, they adjust the pixels, and then the picture is completely clear. What actually goes on with that video enhancement at the FBI lab?
Well, and I will say, I am not a video expert. The video experts that the FBI has are not only well trained, in other words, they have mentors that have trained them for months and years sometimes on how to properly conduct these enhancements, but they also have so much formal training and continue education. So they also are able to use the state-of-the-art equipment that is available to enhance these videos. So I can tell you from a case agent standpoint, when I needed a bag looked at closer because I couldn't make out where the bag was from, or a face because it's a surveillance video and it was too grainy and it was dark and we were far away.
I mean, Don Caesar has told us that they have the ability to take something like really fuzzy and pixelate it back to perfection, essentially. So it's interesting to see, because I don't know how long it's been since Jennifer has retired, and I'll ask her about this personally whenever we're able to interview her. Like, what level of advancement, technologically speaking, has taken place? Terry, thank you so much for that amazing super sticker. Wow, that's super big one, and I really appreciate your support. It really means a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we are on a super chat goal to get to 20 super chats in this next 30 minutes. And you're number 2, but I'm going to count that as number 2 and number 3 because that's a really big one, Terry. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for your help. What an amazing blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Away, or a vehicle where the tag was grainy. We would send that in. and the lab is amazing. Their returns would always help to magnify what we were looking at. I can't remember one case out of dozens and dozens that I worked where a submission to the lab didn't result in a positive enhancement of that evidence.
And so that could be of a person or a vehicle license plate. So there's a lot they can do with the adjustments they can make in the software, I'm assuming.
Yes, and audio too. Sometimes you might not be able to pick up the audio, but they can enhance that as well. So if it can be done, they can do it.
And Jennifer, I just want to talk briefly. On Monday, the police said they passed the threshold of 10,000 tips. I can't imagine. I've heard of cases where they have 1,000 tips. 10,000 tips, kind of weeding through all of that. Some of them may be, they're not good tips. Let's just be honest. But some of them may have valuable information. So let's talk about what it takes to not only organize that, but to go through that 10,000 tips. That just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it is mind-boggling, and it's really incumbent on the public when you're submitting a tip that you don't get extraneous tip information that you're just sending in for a reason that doesn't directly pertain to this case and this time frame and the Elantra and so on.
It's so weird to me that that's been sitting out there for 4 days in front of the Panda Express. I don't understand that. Like, I would there's not ever a moment in the city that I live in where that would be acceptable. I don't understand it at all. And apparently, by speaking with Duck for Life today, that's a very common thing to happen in Eugene, Oregon. Like, it's just something that essentially continues to happen. I said, I when I messaged with him, I said, I can't believe that that's there. And they said the city doesn't care about abandoned cars. They are all over. The homeless has taken over Eugene. I couldn't believe it. I'm still in utter disbelief about it. Patty, thank you for that super sticker. What an amazing blessing. Jillian says, so happy I found your channel. Happy holidays. Well, Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you, Jillian. Thank you so much for that. What an amazing blessing. Really appreciate you guys hopping aboard the super sticker train. That takes us to 5. We're trying to get to 20, and so we're 25% of the way there. It's pretty good. Really appreciate you guys.
So forth. Unfortunately, I know for a fact that tips like this come in because tips like this come to me. And so it's very incumbent on people to really keep on track because every tip that comes in, I can assure you, they have to log it. They are cataloging it in the FBI files and they're taking a look at it. And from that point, as they come in, they're triaging. And the individuals who are triaging are typically analysts that, again, are very well educated and versed in evidence collection and what would be relevant to this case. They're also very well versed in the facts and details of this case because at the end of the day, if you're not up to speed on what is coming in and what is happening on this case, you can't even make intelligence decisions to help guide the FBI agents that are actually.
Jennifer Goffenhaver is so smart. Man, I really appreciate her so much. Hey, thank you so much, Naomi, for hopping aboard our super sticker train. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're number 6. What an amazing blessing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Doing the interviews as to what direction they should be going in. So as information comes in, they're putting it into different piles, if you will, as to what needs to be addressed first and then what needs to be addressed later. And those leads that they feel are very important, they are getting that straight out to the lead detective and the case agents, and that is being directed to the 60 other agents to go out and facilitate those interviews.
Well, it's certainly a monumental task, and it's very important. I mean, we have 4 kids, and they were kids, whether they were 21 or 20 or not. They're kids, and they were murdered for no reason. And we hope that they get some answers. The families get some answers soon.
Remember when we were calling Kylie Rodney a kid and everybody was like, she's no kid. She's 17 years old. That doesn't count as her being a kid. And then these are 21-year-olds. Everybody's like, they're just kids. They're just little babies. I'm like, people are, their definition of kid changes based on what they think happened. And it was mainly talking about like who Sammy and Jagger. Hey guys, if anybody wants to make a donation that will help out our ministry for benevolence fund and things like that, we do have this painting available. I'd love to put in the mail and get it to you. And you can email me at press@tylerfellow.com if you have a bid for it. It's a painting that I did just as a way to help out our ministry. Maybe you even need to make a donation for taxes by the end of the year, something like that, to a 501c3. We can help facilitate that. Or maybe you're like, man, I really want to help some people around Christmas. And this is a great way to do that, get something back in exchange. So, hey, Hillary Wallace, thank you for that super sticker. It's really good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's number 7 on our super sticker train. What an amazing blessing. This was in 2021, which is the most recent annual report for the Moscow Police Department. Again, I'm on Sleuthy Goosey's Twitter page. She says, I know lots of people are curious about the lead investigator of the Moscow homicides. I've also included all of the types he's experienced from 2018 to 2021. So let's just read it. Officer Brett Payne was promoted to corporal and assigned to the patrol division as an assistant patrol team supervisor. Corporal Payne started with the Moscow Police Department in 2018 after spending 8 years in the United States military as a military police officer. Corporal Payne is a field training officer and unnamed aerial system drone program coordinator. Corporal Payne holds an Idaho Post Immediate Peace Officer training. I don't know what that post means, but it's an acronym certainly for something. Hey, Jamie Gibbs, thank you for that super sticker. What an amazing blessing. That takes us to 8 on our goal. We're working to get to 20. I really appreciate it. Symbols of confidence. Here's a picture of them. It's interesting that you can build out some classifications based on this picture just by looking at it. I'll let you guys do that yourself. And then here's the following list, the major call and activity types, the number of responses for the entire department in 2021. Total calls in 2021 to the police department, 11,000 noise complaints. No, total calls. Yeah, no, hang on. 11,000 noise complaints, 657 suspicious calls, 652 vehicle accidents, 221 burglary alarms, 66 citizen disputes, 778 animal calls, 57 mental hold transport calls, 351 theft calls, 304 parking complaints, 255 911 hang-up calls, 177 malicious injury calls, 245. No, I read that wrong. It's 11,000 total calls. 245 abandoned calls, U of I calls, 1,000, 600 welfare calls, 38 felony calls, 83 misdemeanor calls, 127 warrant calls, 441 noise complaints. It's basically one every day. 231 agency assist calls, 73 burglary calls, 296 domestic calls, 72 alcohol calls, 406 found property calls, 138 threatens, 279 VIN checks, 450 traffic offenses, 169 drugs, 10 weapons, 288 frauds, 37 missing people, 25 runaways, 211 harassments, 4,155 traffic stops, and 2,300 business check. What's a business check? Here it is in 2019. I don't want to read all of them again. Let's just see what sticks out. 1,400 U of I related calls, 280 fraud calls, 485 found property calls. 2018 noise complaints, 361, 1,700 medical calls, 1,500 U of I calls. And then, let me see, 2020, 333 noise complaints, 82 burglaries, 340 VINs, 1,113 U of I calls. So it's interesting that she made that. Oh, hey, Miranda writes, thank you so much. What an amazing blessing. Thank you so much for your support. You said, I would like to donate to your ministry and help those who need it at Christmas. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That takes us to 9 on our goal to get to 20. It's super helpful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Leah says, in my opinion, they know who is driving, but they borrowed a friend's, boyfriend's, girlfriend's car to do it. So they're looking for the owner of that car to come forward, saying that they loaned their car out that night. Pure speculation, but just what I think. Do you guys agree with Leah's thoughts? Sleuthy says, 45 minutes ago, the Hyundai Elantra in Oregon is no longer relevant. Is the public really contacting the owner? The vehicle was involved in the collision. The vehicle is registered in Colorado, and the female owner is not believed to have any relation to any property in Moscow, Idaho, or the ongoing murder investigation. The public is asked to stop contacting the owner. Just so we're on the same page, the white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra that police are looking for, we have never seen a real picture of. We don't know if the police have it on video. Seems they know who is driving it. So that's a good point. Like, for example, if they know, like if they know the dealership that vehicle was bought from, for example, that could be really helpful. They might know. And so when they look at the little back tag, there might be a sticker on the surveillance footage they have that they haven't released publicly that could say Offenburg Kia or whatever instead of rainbow. So when they see rainbow, they're like, well, we know that that's not the one. Part of the reason that I thought that Hyundai Elantra might be the car was because it didn't have a license plate. And we saw right here that they're looking for an unknown license plate, which made me think it didn't have a license plate. And then they said tips and have led investigators look for additional information. And then they just put stock photos. They said Elantra is believed to have been in the immediate area of a King Road residence. So we've already read that. The Whitman County Coroner's Office announced 36-year-old. Okay, different case. It's amazing footage that shows anyone who's been throughout the house at these parties. Can we talk about the Idaho 4? Okay, I don't know what that is. I don't want to get in trouble. Who are these two? I'm curious about that too. Hey, Naomi, thank you again for that super sticker. That's 10. We're halfway there. Halfway there. Really appreciate that. I wonder if we ever figured out who those two were. See if there's any comments. It doesn't appear to me that they really have an idea of who it is, which is fine. If they have nothing to do with it, then it doesn't really matter. We don't need to know who they are. You know what I mean? Their anonymity should be kept. They have something to do with what happened. We need to know who they are. So that's the caveat.
Spoke with Fox Digital. He said this, quote, now they're reaching out and they're going to look to the community to see if this individual borrowed this car. Neither Steve Gonsalves nor the police have explicitly said that it was the killer driving the Elantra that night, only that this person or person inside the car likely have critical information about the case. So we also don't know exactly what they meant by borrowed, whether they're saying the car was lent to somebody or maybe stolen. But if they find that car, could the digital forensics actually help pinpoint exactly where that was that all night, like where the car ended up being all night? Because that would be huge, right? If they could do that. So I want to bring in John Naccarato. He analyzed.
John who? Naccarato? Hey, Lauren, thank you for that super sticker. Lisa, really appreciate you guys. That takes us to 12 on our super sticker train, which is pretty good. We're almost there. We only need 8 more of you guys in the next 8 minutes to hop aboard. It'd be an amazing blessing if you can do that.
Analyzes crime and justice under the name Johnny Law. He spent 25 years as a crime scene reconstructionist, specializing in blood spatter, office-involved shootings and cold cases. He's also a nationally certified traffic crash reconstructionist. This is so great to talk to you because I want to ask you, if they find that car, 2011 to 2013, Johnny. Is there even enough digital technology in a vehicle of that era to provide any kind of forensic clues, like the GPS that's sometimes in the engine? Not so much the GPS that's up on the dashboard that we get to use to navigate, but that would tell where the car goes and where it's been.
You know, that year of car, it's kind of on the cutting edge of when the technology started to come out, right? 2006, they started getting GPS and those kind of systems. And so this year of car, this 2011, 2013, even the in-dash systems, most of those weren't installed in the Elantras. The ones that I looked at, it was just a regular AM, FM radio. Some had a satellite button on them, but that's really because they're a location-based service, right? They're there to guide you on where to go, tell you where the restaurants are, the next gas station. They're a service base. So that's really where the technology would come in.
Okay, if they don't find this car, are they dead in the water here in this investigation? Because it feels like this is all they have.
I don't think so. The forensic evidence is still coming back. I think the forensics is gonna solve this case. What happened on the inside of that house, on the outside, that's really going to help solve this case. Now, if this is a car, this car is definitely a point of interest for law enforcement.
Huge point of interest for law enforcement. Thank you, Toothless Appalachian. I really appreciate that. Naomi, what a major blessing. Thank you for your support, Deb. You said, what if the Elantra owner is no longer with us? Just saying. I mean, that could very well be true too. And if that's the case, we need to get down to the bottom of that. But it could definitely be true. Great insight and great point to make. Thank you, Miranda Wrights. I really appreciate your support. Naomi, you're such a blessing coming in hot like that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sister Sleuth, and then Naomi again. Bada bing, bada boop. Guys, that takes us to 19 on our goal to get to 20. And then out of nowhere, boom, Jennifer Coleman right here saying thank you and may the Lord bless you. My gut says the ex-boyfriend, not accusing. I think a lot of people think that. So how many of you guys on your list of suspects has the ex-boyfriend? Let me know. Really appreciate that. By the way, if somebody wants to call in and share their thoughts with me about who you think did it or what you think a theory is, email press@tylerfeller.com. Hey, Beckfist, thank you for that super sticker. What an amazing blessing. Appreciate your support.
Right. They've gotten some kind of statement or witness that narrowed this car down to this specific range, right? A 2010 looks way different than a 2011. A 2014 looks a lot different than a 2013. So whatever information they got to kind of pinpoint this car, they really need to drill down on that and try to find out anything they can on where this car has been. And it's a big task where they have 20-something thousand cars that are these Elantras, right? But if you start to kind of dive down to the VIN numbers of these cars, you can actually see if this car was made in Korea on a 2013, did it come in the color white? If it didn't come in the color white, then you could start to rule out different things on the VIN numbers.
I am flat out of time, but I want you to come back because you know a lot about this stuff, and I don't think this conversation's over. Johnny Law, thank you.
I agree. I think he should be a guest. He was easy to listen to, was very well spoken. He makes a great guest on these programs. I think they should bring him back. Let's see what what's this guy's name? Scott had to say.
FBI taking over the investigation in Idaho? Well, it sure sounds like it. The FBI has assigned additional agents to investigate the unsolved November 13th homicides of 4 University of Idaho students. Now, the Moscow Police Department, not Moscow, even though it's spelled that way, which is leading the investigation into the deaths of Ethan Chapin, Zena Kernodle, Kaylee Gonsalves, and Madison Mogan, said Monday in a press release that 60 FBI agents and 2 members of the Behavioral Analysis Unit have been assigned to the case. Now, on December 15th, the last time the police issued a press release, there were 46 FBI agents and 2 Behavioral Analysis Unit analysts assigned to the case. Apparently, they have about 10,000 tips that are coming in, and they are reviewing all of those tips. The Moscow Police Department said that they're checking to ensure that we have individuals to look at all of the tips and any piece of evidence that they can link to the case. Now, in addition to the 62 FBI agents, there are also 11 Moscow Police Department detectives and supporting staff, as well as 28 Idaho State Police personnel assigned to the investigation. And now, exactly 36 days after the 4 students were killed in their home near campus between 3 and 4 a.m. on November 13th, police have not announced any suspects or persons of interest in the case. And authorities continue to search for the white Hyundai, somewhere between 2011 and 2013 model of an Elantra, which was spotted near the alleged crime scene on King Road in Moscow, Idaho, in the early morning hours.
Hey, Jennifer, welcome to the Feller fam. You're the third one to join today, which is an amazing blessing. Don't forget to join our Facebook group. Lots of great action over on our Facebook group, and we'd be more than happy to have you there. And so excited. And we're trying to get 5 new people joining the Feller fam. You're number 3 today, which is a major blessing. Hey, Vision, you said, I appreciate you searching the web for me. Hey, that's what we do here. I'm a good web surfer. We talk about it. We give our conjecture of what's going on. And I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Could this be a break? I don't know. Photos of an abandoned car have been circulated online. A spokesperson for the Eugene, Oregon Police Department said that they are working to impound the vehicle and forward the information about the white Hyundai to the Moscow Police Department. The public information officer for the Moscow Police Department said that they are aware of the vehicle and they are investigating the vehicle. Now, the Eugene Police Department confirmed a vehicle was found on West 7th Street in Eugene, Oregon, and it is not clear whether this vehicle is the Hyundai being sought by investigators. Now, Moscow, Idaho is more than 750 miles away from Eugene, Oregon, and law enforcement has said previously that they are combing through information of about 22,000 white Hyundai Elantras that need to be checked out. Now, the family attorney for the Gonsalves, a guy by the name of Shannon Gray, has stated that members of the Gonsalves family have been getting harassed by the public, and they believe that that is completely inappropriate. Now, the attorney, Mr. Gray, also revealed that the lead investigator of the Moscow Police Department only has 2 years of experience. Now, it's unclear whether he has 2 years of experience as a police officer or 2 years of experience as a detective. Either way, not a whole lot of experience. Let's just put it that way. Now, you also have to consider in smaller jurisdictions, officers rotate from being a detective to being back to a patrol officer, and it just depends on rotation. It just truly, truly depends.
I don't know. I think he may have some serious military experience that we don't know about. Amy Heights, thank you for that. What an amazing blessing. If you guys appreciate Amy Heights and Mickey, who are modding like wild women for us, doing a very good job, would you just tell them how much you appreciate them? They keep our chat sane. From what I hear, we have one of the best chats in all of YouTube because they are doing such a good job of controlling just the atmosphere and the culture there. So thank you guys. Jess R. Woo! Number 4 in the Feller fam. Woo! Thank you. Hey, thank you so much, Beckfist. You said, where did law enforcement say the car was seen on King Road that night? At the gas station is what we know. We mapped out a potential road where I guess it's like Highway 8. And then they drove in front of, I think it was an Exxon gas station. So that's where. It wasn't on King Road where actually they saw it. So you're saying seen on King Road? They didn't say. They didn't say how they got that footage, which that's an interesting question that you're asking, because it would help us if we could get down to the bottom of that little nugget of information. I agree. Thank you for that super chat too, by the way. You're awesome.
But you have to look. We have now 62 FBI agents and analysts, and I would venture to guess that most of them are analysts, not actual FBI agents, but they still have come up with nothing. So this person or persons who allegedly killed 4 individuals, and they did it, we just don't know who allegedly did it, must be a criminal mastermind that they left no clues behind? Was this some sort of sophisticated serial killer, or was this just some guy or woman that just completely got away with a quadruple homicide because they were lucky? I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that the FBI would be able to come in and help. I mean, they did, after all, help and misfile the lead investigation in the Delphi murder. So, color me skeptical, and all the stuff that the FBI has been in lately. I mean, I don't know. Maybe did they bring these people over from the, monitoring tweets at Twitter? I don't know. But it's just very surprising to me that here we are now 36 days later and nothing on this case. It's just very surprising. I don't know what to tell you. Now, police have...
I'm super surprised by it too. Thank you, Scott Reich, I think is his name. Naomi, Naomi, you mean so much to this channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don Caesar says, yes, it was. The killers were pros and left the other. Don Caesar, if you want to call in, you don't have to. I don't, you may have some things that you're working on or doing today. But if you want to call in, I'd be really happy to have you call in. There's a link. Again, feel no pressure, only if you want to.
I'm Vinny Politan. Great to have you with us here tonight on Closing Arguments. We've got a lot to get to. And really the big question tonight is this it? Is this the big break, the clue, the evidence that's going to lead?
Turns out that answer likely is no.
They're going to track everybody down that has one of those cars. Might as well come forward now. Investigators are working this lead. They are working it, putting resources behind it.
Don Caesar, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you.
Nice, good. Nice to hear from you too. So what?
So
do
I
you,
love.
So what do you want to know? What do you want to talk about?
Well, listen, you always have the most amazing feedback and thoughts for us. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whole white Elantra search. Is it meaningful or is it pointless? And what do you think? I did a poll question. What did you answer? Did you think the driver is the killer, the driver knows something, or the driver is oblivious?
Well, first, I put it down as oblivious because we don't know anything about the car. There was not license plates were taken. Apparently, they haven't been able to match or do any kind of forensics with the tires. They haven't been able to superimpose or zoom in or do digital renderings of the tire make to see, is it Pirelli, is it Goodrich, is it Breakstone, whatever the tire makes are. They haven't been able to see that. They haven't even been able to identify who the driver was because the windows were blackened out, which of course is a major issue with law enforcement, are blackened, darkened windows. They create a real problem.
Yeah.
At traffic stops, it's one of the things that they fear most because you never know when, if there's going to be a shootout, because that's where you see most of your body cam crimes. With cars stopped, the fact that the windows are blacked, almost like they're painted black.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's just my opinion. And I've talked it over with several other law enforcement people that I've, associated with and talk with, and they all come to the same conclusion that unless there's a tag number, it's going to be almost impossible. Last night when I was looking at that one particular picture of the wrecked car, I was intrigued at the blackened spots in the back where the license plate was, because it looked almost like somebody had dusted it for fingerprints. But I understand that was just tires, smudges from the accident or whatever, people with their gloves moving the car out of the way and adjusting it, maybe putting it on a tow truck. So it wouldn't have been, plus the other parts of the car would have been dusted too. I would have seen that. It was only consistent with the license plate.
I think it's wild that in America, in a major city, a car can be sitting on the side of the road in front of Panda Express for 4 days and nobody's done anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense to me. especially when the whole world, one state away, is looking for this exact car. I don't understand it personally. And do you have any insight on that? How is that even possible?
Well, it's possible because, one, as I said, there is no tag. Nobody has an identification. I mean, they see a car that went by and somebody says, oh, that's a white Elantra. Maybe it's a different brand. Maybe it's a different type of car. All right. We don't know. No one knows. The FBI can't even figure it out because it went by so fast. The image was very grainy and smudged. And the fact is that it didn't produce even a letter from a license plate. What state? That would have eliminated a lot of problems.
Would have been huge. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was it could have been just a normal kid driving his car. And, now if there was somebody driving in that area and they were not guilty, but they're not going to turn it themselves in because they're going to have to answer a whole bunch of questions, especially if they were driving someone else's car.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot in college towns. Oh, here, Jack, take the car. All right. Hey, you need a car? Here, go. And then that's why all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I got your car. When somebody says, that was my car. What did you do, man? Oh, just driving by at around 3 o'clock in the morning. So, I mean, that, there's a lot of people that, if they do know that was their car, they're not going to talk because we can't associate that was the perpetrator's vehicle.
By the way, I love your new image because I don't think you had an image before, and now you have a U.S. Marshal emblem. I love that.
Well, I just decided I put it in there because it was better than having a D.
It is better.
And I don't use my own personal image because I do a lot of undercover work, and I can't have that in my private business. I can't do that. So I use what I spent a good number of years and a great number of wonderful American men and women who are a very important part of law enforcement, the oldest law enforcement agency in the United States history.
And one of the most effective at what they do. Deb sends a question. It says, what if an ex-boyfriend had some old clothes at the house or took some of Ethan's clothes, therefore leaving no trail?
Well, it's possible that they did that. I mean, there were questions made, well, what if we wait until the snow, wait until, we'll find out what's buried underneath the house with the snowfall. Folks, it's wintertime, and that area of the country is going to get snow from between now until April. And when it thaws, whatever forensic material might have been there, clothing, garments, I mean, they may be able to be found, but I doubt there'll be any forensic evidence because it would all been washed away or deteriorated. The only way, the only way you're really going to get anything is if it's fresh within, let's say, less than 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Malia just says, thanks for all you do. Have a blessed Christmas. Thank you, Malia. You have a Merry Christmas too.
Yeah, I hope they're enjoying their summer solstice tomorrow.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, that's right. In Australia, it's summertime, isn't it? It's like backwards. My gosh.
No, nothing's backwards.
Wouldn't that be weird?
They think we're backwards. I've been to Australia, so they think there's maps where they show Australia on the top of the world and the United States and Asia and Europe on the bottom. It's very strange. You go like, okay. And then I talked to some of the law enforcement agencies down there with the Australian government, and their marshals, of course, were British marshals at first, and they're even older than U.S. marshals. And they laugh at some of the pranks that the Yanks do, but they're law enforcement people, and they have a much tougher road because the outback is 3 times the size of the desert, our United States desert, and stretches literally from what would be Los Angeles all the way to Chicago. That's how vast their desert area is. So it's very, very remote. There's very few people. It's like the number of people that might be living up in the Arctic Circle during wintertime. Very, very remote, very few people, and it's very dangerous. There's a lot of wickedness in that area.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised about that. Now, I did ask Jennifer Coffendaffer about the tote that they carried in today. Did you see that those investigators went back in to collect evidence today?
I've been in and out of meetings all day. I haven't even touched. I came in and I'm doing some business work right now and answering some phone calls. And I thought I would pop in and listen to what you were saying because I saw something that said, new evidence. And I didn't. But I wanted to comment too about what I saw yesterday. the police chief, I can see now that the police chief has gotten himself a makeup artist. And, you can laugh, and people can laugh and say, "What is he talking about?" Everything now this police chief is doing is going through a PR.
Yeah. Well, the message that he gave today was not very effective. In fact, I critiqued it.
Well, that's because he's been told he's been given a script on what to say.
Oh, he for sure had a script. I said that I think he's reading a teleprompter.
Because they know that they're not getting the job done.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was reading it. They should have hired me to be their PR guy because I would have helped them a lot better than the one that's helping them right now. He came out today and said, "Make no mistake about it, this is a Moscow Police Department investigation, and I am the chief." I'm like, that's not what people want to hear. We want to hear, "Make no mistake about it. You're doing everything you can to get to the bottom of it."
That reminds me of when President Reagan was shot, and the Secretary of State, General, I forgot his name, can't think of it right now, which is really strange, but he says, "I'm in charge here." And he's the Secretary of State. He wasn't the Speaker of the House. He wasn't the VP. And it's the same thing. We're in charge here. Okay. And that's a problem. That's a problem because the FBI has basically been given a cold shoulder. They have a lot of forensic information that they can process very quickly. And they probably would have gotten this case solved, or at least an unsub or person of interest identified right away. But the police pretty much said, "Okay, your story sounds great. Your story sounds good, blah, blah, blah," and let them go. And it's the same thing I've said before on so many cases out there that are unsolved and that are cold.
Well, what's interesting too about this case and the statement he made today, he said, "We have 94 years of combined experience," and he said, and I'm picking the investigation team." And I'm like, "What? Picking out of who? The 25 workers that you have in Moscow, or you picked the 60 FBI agents?" Which I know there's no way he would have done that.
No,
I didn't understand.
No, he has no. First of all, he can't pick the FBI agents. That comes from the FBI. That comes from the from the from the chief of the FBI director. He's the one that makes the choices, or the directors below him. It's not, not the police chief. The police chief can sit down there and hire who comes in and fills out an application, and it gets approved by the city council or the county.
Right, I understand that. I just didn't. The thing I didn't understand is, like, that statement to me made no sense.
Of course it doesn't, because he's trying to save face, and he says 94 years. I mean, you take a look at those men; they're all probably under 40, with the exception maybe of the chief himself, who's probably been there since he was in his 20s.
And the lead investigator only has 2 years experience.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you see that as problematic, or do you think
Absolutely. I mean, and we can't necessarily fault them because it's a college town. I mean, what's the worst that they've done? Somebody breaking into one of the dorms, somebody getting drunk and rolling a beer keg. I mean, that's been, it's a party town. I mean, I went back and I looked at the University of Idaho and went back in the past and did some search, and I found out, it's like Playboy back in 1975. They were like #1 in the country for being a party college.
Not surprising.
And yes, because it's so isolated that people just went there just because they could party, and that's fine. Somebody's paying for that. It's either your parents or the government. Yeah. But that's the way it is in a lot of small towns. The college is the big breadwinner for the town. That's their pays their bills.
Well, especially this town. I wonder what percentage of the economy is contingent on this. I would say
absolutely,
at least half of it.
80%.
Yeah, probably.
During the summer months when the kids aren't there, it's they have to depend on some sort of tourist trade. Now, right now, they've got, of course, a ski trade. After the holiday, it will be ski season between January and probably April, because it's probably a stopping off point to go into the Idaho Rockies. Just like Moab is in there, down in Wyoming and all those areas within the Rockies, that's ski season. So yes, it's a way station before they, for them to go someplace else.
Yeah. Well, so
I don't think it's going to be a way station much longer because of this crime.
Oh, for sure.
And the fact that I think the police department has done a very poor job of selling the town.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if Moab's still a destination or not.
Well, I mean, the Petitos are suing the Moab Police Department, and the redheaded bearded guy. He's the one that is the center of the lawsuit because of his lack of attention to what would have been a very simple arrest.
Yep.
It might not have changed the outcome, but at least would have delayed it.
Or it would have at least highlighted the parents to the cause of concern.
Absolutely.
Too, who may have-
Absolutely.
may have would have
Absolutely.
stepped in. So I don't know if there's an impact. Now, has your theory of what you think could have taken place changed or shifted at all since last time you were on?
I believe that there are two killers. I believe that these are very strong, massive men. These were not college boys, because they would have had to either been in the room, been in the house, waiting for the girls to show up, go into their rooms after they were passed out, straddle them, hold them down, put a hand over their mouths in case they woke up, and then stab them, literally like a tag team. And once they're finished there, they go to the next room. Reason why? We're still wondering. What is the motive? Was it, something, people, as I said, no one has investigated the fathers. Was there any kind of illicit activity that the fathers are doing that they're masking and holding that the FBI knows? That's a question that I've tried to ask a couple of my friends in the FBI, and they're not going to tell. They said, we can't say that. Okay, fine enough. But that would be interesting to see if that is some craze, because if a father, a person owes a debt to the mob, they're going to get their money or they're going to get their payment some way, either through a family member or from the person themselves. That is very similar to a crime that happened in Georgia back in the 70s. When I read about it and studied it when I was at the academy, there was a very influential veterinarian in the Atlanta area, but he was selling drugs coming in from Colombia, and apparently he was ciphering a cash off the top, and they thought he thought he could outsmart his Colombian drug lord bosses, but they caught on it. And when he went into his home, they basically abducted him and shot him in the head and put his body in the trunk of their car. They have never been discovered. His wife and daughter were out shopping. They were also waiting for them too, but they decided that they couldn't, because their school was letting out. There was buses nearby, and they didn't want to be seen, so they took off. But that was a hit. It's never been solved.
Mm. Well, there's been some talk about, I don't want to say names or get into too much of the details, about one of the parents has had some sort of like drug history and some entanglements of that sort, which has kind of been interesting. And then one of the parents is a very prominent business person who's made a significant amount of money dealing in cryptocurrency, which you and I both know is on the news as a very kind of contentious subject right now, because there was a lot of false information being fed to the public, which pumped up the valuation of some of those companies. And then they're starting to lay the hammer down on them now. And so there is some frustration from some folks in what was happening in some of those cryptocurrency companies.
Well, that's another area that I'm not necessarily familiar with, because that crypto virtual money, who knows where that's going to go? But it is used very popular with the drug laundering and human trafficking right now. And I think that's what's happening, is that the government's taken a real interest in it, both the Department of Justice as well as the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Big time. Yeah, big time. And so we're seeing some major movement towards companies being outed as lying to the public about how they were handling their cryptocurrency. So it's pretty significant. And then there's some, just some family history and extended family of criminal background. So I think you're right. Like that, not saying that any of the parents have anything to do with it, but saying, are there connections that they have that might be disgruntled and could be trying to seek a way to get revenge?
Well, I'm looking at your chat here, and there's an individual named Terry who just made a mention about one of Kaylee's uncles is in waiting trial in Washington State for murder.
Yeah.
Very interesting connection. Very interesting to see if there's a connection there.
It is very interesting. See what the family connection was there. Do you think that Kaylee was targeted based off of what was said publicly, or no?
Well, I mean, if if this person, Terry, is making a statement, I'll have to double check on that, because I don't want to,
That statement is pretty accurate. I've looked into that one.
So, I mean, I've already seen 2 or 3 people talk about it. Look, if somebody is trying to send a message, they delivered a message. If someone has made a hit, if it was a hit, and I think it was a pro hit, I think, as I said, I think these were not amateurs. And I don't necessarily think they were serial killers. I think they were pros that were there to send a message. And unfortunately, the other couple became collateral victims because maybe they walked in or they heard something and they had to be silenced.
Yeah.
Because there is no DNA. There's very little evidence left. There's very little anything left. And that's a sign of a pro. It's the same thing. It's the same thing happened in Austin, Texas, and it's the same thing that happened in a murder in South Carolina a number of years ago, and also one in New York. So,
well, there's blood in the kitchen in a photo that we seen in this Idaho case, and so it sort of contradicted one of the statements that was being said from the coroner, which said that they were asleep in their beds, which turned out not to be true. And then a report came out yesterday saying that 2 of them had defensive wounds. Well, the most obvious 2 that would have had defensive wounds, because we already know that Xana had defensive wounds, would have then been Ethan and Xana on the second floor. And then we also saw the blood in the kitchen, which is on the second floor where Ethan and Xana were at. It just led me to believe, even in further assurity, that likely Kaylee was the suspect and or the target, and everybody else was sort of just a interference.
Correct. And I think that would definitely be something to lean on. And if the FBI's got that angle, then great. If not, if that information is being withheld by the police department, then they're keeping one of the most efficient and effective laboratories on the planet from handling that information. Now, they might be doing it on the side, and they're just not saying anything because, I mean, my sources aren't telling me, there's certain sources, things I can get from sources, and there's certain things that are not because I'm no longer a marshal, and, my ties are mostly now independent work that I do. But I still have people who know people, and if the FBI's got some evidence and they're analyzing it, they're not going to say anything until they got a full report. And even then, it may be withheld because if they give out too much information, then of course, there might be a copycat killer out there. If they have an unsub, then I think maybe the car might be a smokescreen. I really don't know. These are just things that, as investigators, I think about, because we have certain amounts of things that we can tell the public. It's harder. It's great that the public is involved. Believe me, crimes are getting solved faster because of you and others that have podcasts and other groups. The years earlier, it was books or not websites, but meetings and stuff like that where people would talk about it, or radio shows. But it's a lot faster, much more effective now because of the internet.
Yes. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Well, I appreciate your thoughts. Is there any other thoughts that you wanted to share?
Not really. I mean, I think if they don't have enough evidence, and if this car is not a smokescreen, they're actually think they're just pulling straws. This case is going down. It's going cold.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep communication line, and you got to be honest. You really have to be honest with people, because they can tell if you're faking it,
bluffing.
Yeah, I mean, bluffing is one thing, but if you're out like just withholding information because you don't know, just say you don't know.
Yeah,
that's the best answer. But people want it to be solved, and I'm curious that the governor hasn't said anything from Idaho, and I'm curious that no one from the congressional representatives or senators or anybody else has made a statement on this, because one, I mean, that's a college, that's a major institution for the state, and nobody's saying anything, because this reputation now is shot as far as Idaho. I mean, if people are going to say, well, I'm going to go send my kid, where should I go? Well, don't send them to Idaho.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. You're exactly right. It is curious that we haven't seen. We know that the governor gave $1 million, but other than that, we're not seeing.
Somebody wrote, why is there no cash reward? That is very interesting.
That's another interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. That is, you see that where I don't know how to speculate with that, because if there's some sort of legal tie going on with this case in Washington State, if it ends up that they believe that someone took a hit out on Kaylee to get back at the father or get back at the uncle, then that's probably why there wouldn't be a money incentive.
It's interesting, because there's been plenty of people who've came forward and said, we'll do a reward. We'll do a reward. I saw one businessman saying he'll give a $50,000 reward. And I saw somebody else saying he'd pay each of the roommates $25,000 if they'd come out and speak publicly.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine
I think all the other roommates are all lawyered up. That's another thing. And then that's another thing too. If they do have an unsub, they don't want to sit down there and say, oh, you're a person of interest, because then they'll pull a Brian Laundrie.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I've heard that term now being used by some of the people in the legal business. So they're going to pull a Laundrie or pull a Bertolino.
Bertolino, yeah. Yeah, well, they added Bertolino to the lawsuit now.
Mm-hmm.
Rightfully so, my opinion.
Oh.
So, well, Don, thank you so much for calling in. We really appreciate you here, and I love your insight. And as you're welcome to call anytime you want to, you know that, but really appreciate your insight.
No problem. Listen, you take care of yourself. It's Christmas is coming up, and bad weather out there. Don't drive in the snow. Watch what you're doing. It's going to get freezing, and especially people up in the upper plains areas where they've got their cattle and livestock out there. They're looking at a real possibility of losing that valuable cattle, because then, of course, if that happens, beef prices are going to skyrocket.
I know, supply and demand.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of people who were marshals who left and went into farming and went into ranching, and they are up in that area, and they're scared. They're real scared.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. You take care of yourself. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Guys, Don Caesar, so awesome. He calls in, gives us great insight. Be sure to thank him in the chat for calling in. Loved his insight on everything that we were discussing and talking about today. How awesome is that? By the way, guys, we are still trying to make our goal on our train, I think. Or did we start another train? I can't remember. I know we're slow on the train. Maybe we're supposed to start another one because I don't know where my numbers are at. But maybe we can get to 12 people on the train in the next 12 minutes. We'll just do a last train of the day. 12 and 12. You guys think we could do that? 12 super chats in the next 12 minutes. It'd be an amazing blessing.
Asking for more help from the public. And all those people that want to help are going through security footage. They're looking for, is there anything from that night, from that day, the day before? Trust me, they're checking everywhere. Anywhere where there's a camera around there, people are checking their footage, looking for that white car. All right, Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter joining us tonight. Where is she? Okay. All right. First, let's hear from the chief.
Through our tips, through our leads, some of the evidence that came in, we start to identify patterns. And like we said earlier, we are confident that the occupant or occupants of that vehicle have information that's critical to this investigation. We also understand that even though there's sometimes a fascination with a particular case, some people simply don't see the news and may not know that we're looking for it. So if we get the word out there, hey, maybe your neighbor has one in the garage that they don't drive very often. Maybe there's one that's just not on the registration database. Let us know. So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our.
Apparently the one in Eugene, Oregon. It's not the 22,000. Patty, thank you so much. What an amazing blessing, Naomi. Wow, thank you for your support. Hey, Goering, thank you. I really appreciate you. Hey, Terry, thank you for that super sticker. Thank you guys for hopping aboard and really helping out. It makes all the difference to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you guys have never sent a super chat before and today you choose to send one, it'd be such an amazing blessing. We'll celebrate and support you and just say thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because I really believe, whether it's my channel or other YouTube channels, if there's places that you're coming and consuming content and getting value from, and it's consuming time and energy, I believe in creating opportunities for you to sow back or give back into that. So would appreciate if it's my channel or other channels and you're able to do it, that you'd be willing to support through super sticker and super chat. Hey, Naomi, thank you so much for that. What an amazing blessing. You're just coming in hot, 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 hot today. That's number 5, trying to get to 12. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Criteria that we're sorting through. That's an awful lot of information, but it may not be all of them. So the public can help us with that.
22,000 fitting that criteria. I didn't realize there were that many white Hyundai Elantras from 2011 to 2013. I think about 600,000 were sold in the whole country. Anyhow, let's bring in Chanley Painter. I was so excited. Chanley, great to see you. What do we know about the tips for this car? To me, this thing is heating up. I feel like there is some sense of momentum here. What about the tips?
Yeah, I mean, the tips are pouring in, Vinny. Police saying they've worked overtime over the weekend, 24/7, trying to find the occupant or occupants of that Hyundai Elantra seen near the crime scene. We don't know how they know about this vehicle. They haven't released that many details, but they believe the person inside or the persons inside have critical information. And so we learned through a Fox News digital report on Tuesday that, yes, those...
Woo! Naomi, Lanny, and Elizabeth. Bada bing, bada boop. And I love your thumbs up, Naomi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lanny. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Really appreciate you guys.
Local businesses, those working around the area are just pouring through their surveillance video. And so from this Fox News digital report, detectives collected 8 hours of surveillance video Tuesday morning from a gas station in Moscow, where a clerk saw a white sedan passing by at 3:45 a.m. on the night of the unsolved stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students, according to store workers. An overnight assistant manager told Fox News Digital that she's been reviewing the tapes a little bit at a time over the past few days, looking for clues in her downtime.
Interesting that they're so confident that it's a Hyundai Elantra. Hey, Rob, thank you for that super chat. You said, I just saw on Reddit that the vehicle in Eugene belongs to a female in Colorado. The police already reached out to her. Well, that's very interesting. Yeah, we saw that they, like Brian Ensign had made a tweet basically saying that it didn't matter, that, you know what I mean, that there's nothing significant about it. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, and certainly we wish that there was something significant to come from it, but never know. Brian Ensign today doing a new video just coming out about 45 minutes ago. We'll watch that. Thank you for your super chat, Rob. Hope you're doing well. Hey there, Naomi. What a major blessing. Katie, thank you. Terry, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, Savannah, thank you for that super sticker. You guys are so amazing. Really appreciate that. Let me see how many we just got. Savannah. Thank you, Savannah. Number 1 fan. Savannah says she's number 1 fan. Thank you, Savannah. Terry, Katie, I love it. $1.99. Katie, too. Really appreciate that. Naomi and Rob. Well, guys, that takes us to our goal. We reached our goal. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's hear what Brian Ensign's having to say.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to get on here and say hi. I haven't done a live stream in a while. Will and I are driving now in Moscow. It's like super snowy. Like it was like icy earlier. Wouldn't you say? Well,
Yeah,
like
it's like freezing rain.
it's like freezing rain, and now it's like snowing again. It's been snowing for like the last day here, but we're actually going to the police station to do Banfield tonight. From there, we got some information like about an hour ago, 2 hours ago, about the white Hyundai in Oregon, that it is not connected. They do not believe it's connected to the case. So this is the police station here. I'll get out. I haven't done a live stream from the police station, so I'll kind of show you guys. Yeah. I'm going to get back in a minute. So, all right. You can see all the snow. So this is the front of the police station. You guys have seen it in the video and everything. I'll wait for this officer to move out of the way. Snow is crazy here. Oh my gosh, is my cell service bad? Someone's saying I need a new cell provider. I mean, this is like heavy snow. Granted, I'm from Florida, but to me it seems like heavy snow. So this is kind of interesting. They're back there. Can you guys see that? Like, it looks like a big RV with the lights on the side through the fence. That's the FBI mobile unit that came from Salt Lake City. So we're told like everything they would have to send back to Salt Lake City, a lot of it they can do right there in that FBI mobile unit back there. It's back behind the police station. So, all right, I'm like literally getting snow. I'm gonna get back in the car and then I'm gonna tell you guys more. Is the car open? Yeah, the self-service is not great in Moscow, but I will be on Banfield tonight in about a half an hour. So let me kind of go through the updates with you guys today. I know there was a lot of talk about the white Hyundai in Eugene, Oregon. Started asking police about it this morning, wasn't getting a response for a while. So like, I wasn't sure, you know, maybe it was connected. Then they said they were looking into it. The latest is that they say it is not connected. The owner, I guess, is from Colorado. They don't think the owner or the car is connected. And let me turn the windshield wipers off. And so the owner's from Colorado. They don't believe it's connected. And I guess the car crashed at one point and then there was a homeless man sleeping in it. So kind of a weird situation, but they say at this point not connected to the murders. We were at the house this morning. So we got a tip yesterday that investigators would be back at the house today. So we made sure to get there really, really early. And then around 10 a.m., 2 detectives did go into the house. They had like a black Pelican case, like a big black plastic, like briefcase looking case. I'm told that usually those are used. There's usually like some kind of evidence collection tools inside.
Oh, I did ask Jennifer Kopfdaffer about that, and she did text me back. I'll tell you what she said. She said that the bag is familiar, and she carried one most of the time in her trunk. It was what you used to collect evidence. And then she said that she thinks it was an ERT agent who went in there. So I don't know what an ERT agent is, but let me Google that. What is an ERT agent? Emergency response team. I don't know if it was an ERT agent then.
They were there for about 20 minutes and then they left. Also new today, and if you go back and look at some of my videos from today, So last night on Banfield, the lawyer for the Gonzalez family expressed, they support law enforcement, but also say they want to hold them accountable. And he expressed concern with who he said was the lead investigator for Moscow PD, only having 2 years of experience. The police chief today put out a video pretty much responding to that. I mean, they didn't say they were specifically responding to the attorney, but it's pretty clear they were, saying that, the command staff over the investigation has a combined 94 years experience, and there's also 60 FBI agents assisting. So, just trying to, and he also made the point that Moscow PD is in charge of this investigation. Let me start reading some of your comments. How long do I plan on staying? So I am going to go home. I mean, things have been pretty slow right now. So I am going to go home and recharge, and then come back after the holidays. So, but we do have another crew that just got here, so they'll be here. So if anything happens, they'll still be totally covered. Everything will be on News Nation. I'll still be tweeting and doing my normal thing. I am gonna go home for the holiday.
Christmas is what it's called, Brian Inton. Christmas.
Just reading here. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm from Florida, but I'm actually rented a house in Georgia for Christmas and gonna drive up there with those of you who follow me know I have 3 dogs, so gonna go up there with the family and the dogs. So if something breaks, though, I'll come back. Sorry, so I can't really see the police station, but we do have a crew here. So
Brian Hinton does a great job of communicating. He should be running PR for that police department. They should ask him to come in and give them some pointers, because he's communicating to people who watch him. Listen, I do need to go home and recharge. I have 3 dogs that I haven't seen. I want to be home for the holidays. Blah, 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 blah. But there's going to be somebody covering it. I'm still going to be tweeting. He's a great PR kind of a guy. I like Brian Hinton.
Yeah, I'll be back. Yep. So Alex Capriello from News Nation will be here, and then Nancy Liu will be back, and then I'll be back. So, and like I said, I'll you guys know me by now. Like, it's not like I'm just gonna stop reporting on the case. I mean, I'll still be in touch with everybody, the families and the lawyer and the police and with my colleagues. So I'll still be tweeting and everything like normal. Oh, actually, if Moscow's a ghost town, it's pretty quiet right now because most of the students went home for winter break, and it's pretty much cleared out right now. I'm at the police. So those of you just joining, I'm at the police station. So this is Moscow Police. We're actually going to go live from here for Banfield tonight. So this is where there's actually a room upstairs where all the investigators are, and this is kind of like the main spot where they work. And if you go back and look at the beginning of this video, I showed in the back parking lot over there is the FBI mobile unit that they have here. So that's where the FBI that came from Salt Lake City. So Adam, some of you are asking about Adam, the video that we got over the weekend where you hear them talking about Adam, Maddie, and Kaylee when they're walking the night before the murders. Today, the police did say that we knew they had the video, but today they said that Adam has been cooperating with the investigation. So that's kind of the latest we have on that.
Adam has been cooperating.
We don't know what investigators were doing at the house today. I mean, if you go back and look at my video, I tried asking them when they were coming out. I wasn't really expecting them to answer, but we don't know. It was planned though, because we got the tip yesterday they were going to be there. So
Be like, what evidence did they get? As well, what like?
Are you good?
It is cold.
It is cold.
It's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold, baby.
Let's see what else you guys are saying. Do I get the feeling that they're getting close? Some of you asking. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people ask me this. My family and friends have been asking me. We really just don't know. Again, today they said they don't have any suspects officially. So we don't have any reason to believe they're getting close at all. I mean, unless there's some really big secret that they're not sharing with us or the families. But there's nothing they're telling us that indicates they're getting close. So yeah, it is really sad for the families. Maddie and Kaylee are going to be having their families are having a celebration of life for them on the 30th, I believe, end of next week. So obviously our hearts just continue to go out to the families, especially around the holidays. I can't even imagine. Sorry, I'm just reading everything you guys have been typing. That's why I'm being quiet. Yeah, I mean, you're asking if the family's been harassed. Yeah, the lawyer has said and said last night to us that, they've been getting harassing emails and that kind of thing. And the police said other people involved in the case have gotten death threats. So, that is just awful to hear. So sorry, I was just reading everything you guys are saying. Did Kaylee's dad hire the PI? I don't know anything about a PI right now. And I've been in touch with the family and the lawyer. All I know about is that they have the lawyer. I don't know about a PI. So did I see cameras in town? We actually have a segment on Banfield tonight towards the end of her show where we drive through a big part of the town and kind of show all the buildings and cameras and that kind of thing. So that might help answer that question. If you watch, it'll be on in about, her show starts in about 25 minutes. So someone's saying the town is so small, very few cameras. Yeah, I've noticed that too. A lot of people don't have cameras. There's not a lot of crime here. It's not like a big city where everybody has cameras. But I have been wanting to say this for a while. It's a really nice town. I really, the people are amazing in Moscow. We've met so many nice people. It's a really, really nice town. I feel really bad for the people that live here, that this has happened in their town, because it's just a really nice place. I don't know if you guys have seen many pictures. The downtown is really nice. Kind of reminds me of like, my mom likes those like Hallmark Christmas movies. Like it reminds me of like what you would see in a Hallmark Christmas movie, the downtown. Like it's just perfect. There's beautiful lights. There's a beautiful Christmas tree. It's really nice. And the people are especially nice here. So it's really sad that they're going through it. Yeah, I'm definitely not. There's a ton of snow. It's crazy. Yeah, we're definitely not. Someone said like we're adding to the hate towards law enforcement. I mean, I really hope we're not. I have a lot of respect for law enforcement, you know. So we're not trying to be hard on the police in any way. We're just reporting, you know, like the family wants accountability. You know, there hasn't been an arrest made, so we're just, you know, trying to stay on top of it.
It's so true. It's very interesting that in this case, like I've pretty much had a middle of the road response basically in every single thing that I've talked about. Like in this case, compared to the Gabby Petito case and the Brian Laundrie case and Debbie Collier case, basically every case that I cover, I pretty much take the middle of the road, especially when we're dealing with law enforcement and things like that. And most of the time, I'm having to rein people back. Like, you need to chill out on law enforcement. You need to be kinder to them. We need to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like, and I believe that. That's actually what I believe. In this case, if you make one tiny sentence that actually starts to illustrate that you may have some discretion or discernment about an area where they're lacking experience, or maybe a part of the case that it doesn't have exposure or they've forgotten about, the people come attack you. And it's like, this is what Brian Ince is like. We're not adding to the hate. We're just reporting on what's being said. We're reporting that it could potentially be a cold case. I had somebody messaging me the other day, like, cold case? How on earth is this a cold case? It's 5 weeks in and there's no movement at all. That to me feels pretty cold. And the whole town's covered in snow also feels pretty cold. And then on top of that, it's like we see statements from the law enforcement officer today. It just didn't add up. And the family's coming out through the lawyer and making statements that they need to have some more, people involved. So we're not trying to do anything disrespectful. And I'm not by any stretch of the imagination being disrespectful about it. And I don't think Brian Ensign is either. But I do think it's an important thing that we can distinguish a difference in. And it's okay to hold people accountable that are in law enforcement and in leadership.
But they're working really, really hard. I mean, you know, they're working around the clock. They're working through the holidays. They work through Thanksgiving. You know, they're all missing time with their families. I mean, they want to really solve this. So I only have respect for the people working on the case. So I don't want to, whoever thinks that I'm, you know, have hate towards law enforcement, I really hope that it doesn't seem like that, because I don't at all. So anyway, thank you guys for following along today. It was kind of actually, we had a lot of stuff going on today with the looking into the Elantra, and then the people showing up, at the detective showing up at the house this morning. So we'll have it all for you on Banfield tonight.
It's interesting that he was saying that, because he began the program by saying it's been a really slow day. And then he's like, we've had a lot going on today. Hey, guys, let me take a second and pray over you. Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for every single person who's been brought together on this stream. Lord, I pray that you, like a cohesive bond, begin to draw our hearts to your hearts. And yeah, Lord, and I just thank you that there are people that tonight, they haven't been able to get a peaceful sleep. You're coming upon them. You're giving them rest. I speak to nightmares that they have and fear and anxiety they live in. And in the name of Jesus, under the authority of heaven, I just cancel those attacks from the enemy. And Lord, I pray that you'll be with law enforcement officers. You'll be with lead detective Corporal Payne. You'll be with the captain or the chief Fry. You'll be with the FBI agents that are involved. And we just speak your abundant blessing over them. And Lord, I pray that the families that are involved in this case will begin to sense and feel your nearness and your closeness, because your word says you're close to the brokenhearted. Lord, I pray that they'll open and have their spiritual senses awakened to your closeness in this season. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey guys, I want to remind you, an amazing way that you could help us out is through PayPal, which is Tyler Feller, Cash App, $ Tyler Feller 22, or Venmo at Tyler-Feller. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today, and I look forward to seeing you back tomorrow.